Chapter 1105. The third martial uncle from the Haotian sect collapsed to the ground. He had never thought that he, who was so high and mighty, would one day be reduced to such a state and be smashed to the ground by someone with a hammer. At this moment, he could only feel the eyes of the people around him converging on him. There was a feeling of extreme shame. This was simply the greatest insult to him. However, Li Zongjiu's words were like steel whips that lashed his body. In the end, the people of the Haotian sect also stood up silently. The third martial uncle glared fiercely at Li Zongjiu. Then, he clutched his injured stomach and directly left the place. However, the two crippled young men from the Clear Sky sect were left where they stood. Obviously, the two of them had been crippled and their elemental pearls were destroyed. Even if they were saved, it would be of no use. They might as well just leave them here. Even the people of the Haotian sect fled. Su Chun of the South City Army was filled with shock. The people of the Haotian sect had directly appeared in front of the show table and asked the South City Army to unify the entire 9 cities. They wanted to incorporate the other areas into their forces and unify them. Such a thing was naturally very difficult. However, with the intervention of the people of the Haotian sect, it was naturally different. However, just as they were halfway through the discussion, this evil dominator appeared and killed them without saying a word. Just now, he even threatened to help them unify the 9 cities. In the blink of an eye, he was chased away. Su Chun did not know what to say about the speed at which he was slapped in the face. He could only take a deep breath. Their fate would depend on the mood of the evil lord. If the evil lord, Li Zongjiu, wanted to support Huang Weihu, then he would have to give up his territory easily. Regardless of whether the Haotian sect would seek revenge on Li Zongjiu or not, first of all, they could not stop Li Zongjiu from making a move. If Li Zongjiu was in a bad mood, he would directly cripple them. At that time, they would lose their territory and their lives. They did not know how Huang Weihu was so lucky to be able to get the help of the evil lord. Su Chun did not recognize Mao Tai. "Greetings, evil lord." Su Chun half knelt and saluted Li Zongjiu. Many of the generals around him also knelt down on one knee. Capture those 2 people and properly torture them. However, do not kill them. Let them properly experience the wonders of this world. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Revenge for the smallest grievance. Generally speaking, if Li Zongjiu wanted to make a fuss about something, then you should be prepared to die. Li Zongjiu did not have the time to deal with these 2 good-for-nothings. However, with just a few words, he could send people to do these things. Why not? Tomorrow at noon, ask the leaders of the other regions to come for a meeting. It's up to them whether they want to bring people or not. If I don't see them, I will go and find them myself. Li Zongjiu ordered. Su Chun hurriedly replied when he heard Li Zongjiu's words. Don't worry, evil lord. This subordinate will definitely inform them. After that, Li Zongjiu and Huang Weihu turned their horses around and left. After Li Zongjiu left, Su Chun finally breathed a sigh of relief. Unknowingly, he was already sweating profusely. It could be said that he was really sweating profusely. If there was even the slightest mistake in serving someone as strong as Li Zongjiu, it would be a disaster for him. Fortunately, Li Zongjiu did not seem to be interested in their turf wars. Or perhaps he just wanted to enjoy being an elite? They didn't know if tomorrow's meeting would be a hongmen banquet, but with Li Zongjiu's strength, it would be easy for him to deal with them. General, do you want to talk to the leaders of the other regions? Let's join forces. Otherwise, tomorrow will be a disaster. Su Chen's subordinate reminded him. This subordinate was a very loyal one. In such a place, if one didn't have a trusted subordinate, then he was basically a useless person. Of course, he couldn't completely trust him. It was up to him to choose what to do. Stupid! Su Chun scolded angrily. The 2 people who were defeated were at the peak of the Yuan monarch realm. They were 1 step away from the Yuan emperor realm. The 2 of them were crippled in an instant. Can't you see evil lord's strength clearly? Su Chun immediately said directly. Clearly, this evil dominator's strength was extremely terrifying. Even if all the people in the 9 cities were added together, they would not be enough to kill evil lord. I heard that evil lord and an elite called Supreme Flame easily destroyed Black Canal Basilica. I have seen the strength of evil Lord. I wonder if Supreme Flame, who is even stronger, will also come here. Strange, what are these top experts doing here? Su Chen was obviously more far-sighted. Since he could no longer control his own life and death, he might as well find out why he was in such a situation. The Haotian sect in the real world, and now this evil lord. Could it be that the 9 cities is related to the Demon Suppression Palace? When he thought of this, Su Chen took a deep breath. If this was the case, then this matter was of great importance. The stability of the 9 cities would definitely be constantly interfered with by external forces. In the end, this layer of peace would also be broken. The situation might become very chaotic. First of all, if these top experts came, they would definitely not be able to stop them. It was no wonder that Evil Lord was so anxious to summon them for a meeting. He wanted to assign tasks and take over the 9 cities. General? General? Su Chen's subordinate saw that his eyes were glazed over and emitted light from time to time. He thought that his general had lost his mind or suffered a great blow, so he quickly woke him up. Su Chen woke up. All right, hurry up and inform those people. As long as they are in place, it's up to them whether they come or not. It's best if they don't come. Immediately, Su Chen sneered. If at this time he could see that his old rival of many years was eliminated, he would be very happy in his heart. When the time came, if they didn't come and directly angered Evil Lord, he would kill the remaining 4 people with a wave of his hand. That would be really satisfying. What about these 2 people? After all, these 2 people were disciples of the Clear Sky sect. Although their elder had escaped a little faster, it was hard to say if these people had reacted a little later and wanted to take them away. In the end, someone would stand up for them. It was just that they didn't know when that person would come back. Search them clean and lock them in the ant prison. Just make sure they don't die. Ant prison. Upon hearing this name, these subordinates trembled and felt their scalps tingle. However, when they thought of how arrogant these 2 people were when they were with them, locking them in the ant prison was also a kind of behavior that made them happy. Yes, General. Chapter 1106. In the Xingyan Dynasty. A group of black-clothed men hurriedly landed on a mountain peak. Mount Xianhuang. This was Mount Xianhuang, the place where a few major incidents had occurred. Qi Yanran of the Qi family was overseeing this place, managing the matters of the Mount Xianhuang or vein in an orderly manner. Whirlwind Stockade had originally wanted to interfere and extort a large sum of money, but after the other 6 stockades were easily destroyed, they became very well behaved. At the same time, under the threat of Li Zongjiu, they obediently carried out their current guarding duties. However, the Qi family's reputation and Whirlwind Stockade's overseeing this place became very peaceful. Immediately, Mount Xianhuang fell into a state of complete calmness. No one dared to cause trouble. That night, a cold wind suddenly blew. It happened to be the time when a batch of ore was being transported. And today, a large amount of black-yellow essence crystals had been mined. The value of the black-yellow essence crystals alone was equivalent to the amount of black-yellow essence stones mined for nearly half a month. Therefore, Qi Yanran was personally escorting the ore. Yes, that direction is Whirlwind Stockade. Qi Yanran and the others were in the forest, escorting the ore carts. These ore carts were pulled by ground service beasts. These ground service beasts were not even rank 1 meta beasts. They were a kind of hybrid meta beast with good endurance and strength. Suddenly, a flame lit up in front of them. They could faintly hear the sound of fighting. But soon, it was drowned in the sea of trees. The ground service beasts in front of them suddenly lay on the ground, not daring to get up, as if they were afraid of something. Everyone, be careful. Qi Yanran ordered. Immediately, the Qi family's guards pulled out the sabers at their waists. Under the moonlight, the shiny sabers looked cold and threatening. Then, Qi Yanran looked up at the forest in front of her. 2 figures hovered above the shadow of a tree, staring at Qi Yanran. Pay attention to defense. Although Qi Yanran's cultivation had recently made a breakthrough, she still felt threatened when she sensed the threat from the 2 people in front of her. But with a divine weapon like the Desolate Heaven essence in her hand, she was naturally not afraid. Who is it? Qi Yanran snorted coldly. The two people opposite her did not say anything. They looked at each other directly. After confirming the target, they rushed toward Qi Yanran. Boom! The power of the two instantly erupted. There seemed to be a giant beast roaring above the sea of trees, and the surrounding power instantly exploded. Boom! A terrifying power spread out in all directions. Immediately, Qi Yanran's expression became extremely solemn. Two auras rushed toward her like two mountains. Boom! Boom! The desolate heaven essence in Qi Yanran's hands was specifically used to break through mountains. The desolate heaven essence transformed into a white beam of light that swirled out and instantly shattered the barrier. However, the two men had already rushed in front of Qi Yanran and tried to grab her. Whoosh! Bang! Qi Yanran relied on the desolate heaven essence to tangle with the two of them, but she realized that the two people in front of her were extremely powerful. They were much more terrifying than she had expected. Desolate Heaven Lock. He activated the Desolate Heaven essence with his Yuan Qi. Immediately, a surge of energy surged out of the Desolate Heaven essence and swept towards the two figures. But one of them managed to dodge in time, but the other was not so lucky. He was wrapped up by the Desolate Heaven essence and almost instantly, it shrunk to an extreme, crushing the black-robed man's body. The essence of this move was to concentrate the power of the Desolate Heaven essence in a small area and then compress it, easily crushing the people in the gap. Bang! When he saw his companion explode into pieces in midair, the black-clothed man seemed extremely calm. He continued to calmly attack Qi Yanran. At the same time, he seized a very good opportunity. Taking advantage of the fact that Qi Yanran had yet to recover her strength, he suddenly closed in and slapped at Qi Yanran's head. Although Qi Yanran saw the other party's move, she was too late to block it. The black-clothed man opposite her curled his lips into a cold smile. This smile seemed to imply that he had completed his mission. Qi Yanran had no way of avoiding this palm. So, a beam of light directly pierced through the black-clothed man's head. Instantly, the black-clothed man's strength disappeared. The black-clothed man's head could be said to have exploded in an instant. He naturally lost control of the power in his body at this moment. Qi Yanran's figure retreated, just in time to avoid this move. Immediately, Qi Yanran heaved a sigh of relief. A blue bird flapped its wings and calmly landed on Qi Yanran's shoulder. It used its beak to comb its feathers until the feathers on its body were clean. Fortunately, I have you, Xuelan. Qi Yanran stroked the bird's head. This bird was the mountain auk that Li Zongjiu had given to Qi Yanran previously. In less than half a month, the mountain seagull had already begun to take shape. With its current size, it was clear that it had eaten a lot of good things in the past few days. All of them were high-grade pills that were specially cultivated. It could be said that the mountain seagull ate better than the food that humans eat. Xuelan was the name that Qi Yanran gave to the mountain auk. These two masters were of unknown origin and were very powerful. Most importantly, they did not know the origin of each other at all. They actually attacked directly, which made Qi Yanran have a faint premonition in her heart. Obviously, they are from the same organization. The way they fight is very similar. And after their deaths, it seems that their energy has been transferred. Qi Yanran had the original spirit of the longevity tree, so she had a very clear understanding of the power of life. Although these people were dead, their power had flown directly to an unknown place. All things had the same origin. According to common sense, the energy of these people should return to heaven and earth. However, the power of the two people in front of her was flowing in the same direction. When the motorcade below saw that Qi Yanran had killed the two masters of the other side alone, they all laughed at those who tried to fight with the eldest Mississippi. The eldest Mrs. Strength could be said to be unrivaled among her peers. Of course, with the exception of a freak like Li Zongjiu, it was really difficult for other people of the same age to catch up with the eldest Mississippi. These people wanted to rob her. They were simply digging their own graves. All of you, quickly take the things away. The only thing that Qi Yanran could think of now was that someone had received the news and wanted to fight for the mysterious yellow crystal in her hands. Buzz. After giving her instructions, Qi Yanran's brows furrowed slightly. When she turned around, she saw 3 figures appear in front of her. They were dressed exactly the same as the 2 people who were killed just now. The 3 people's eyes met and fell on Qi Yanran. To be precise, they were looking at the mountain auk on Qi Yanran's shoulder, Xuelan. Chapter 1107. The 3 figures that appeared next were obviously stronger. Qi Yanran did not dare to be too careless. However, there was no need to ask about the background of the people in front of her. Boom! The 3 of them attacked at the same time. A terrifying force that covered the sky and earth struck towards Qi Yanran. The force seemed to intertwine to form a giant net. Qi Yanran was caught in it. Qi Yanran could not avoid it. She used the desolate heaven essence to forcefully split open the opponent's force net. At the same time, she leaped up and rushed towards the distance. At the very least, she could not control the battlefield here. Otherwise, a little bit of the force that spread out could easily kill the people of the Qi family below. The 3 people in front of her were also in the primitive emperor realm. At the same time, their target was extremely clear. They did not care about the things around them and directly chased after Qi Yanran. Boom! Boom! 4 figures instantly swept across the sea of trees above the forest. The terrifying force that was set off alarmed the origin beasts in Mount Xianhuang. They fled in all directions in a disorderly manner. The black-robed man who was chasing behind her was constantly releasing his origin force. Balls of origin force bombarded out. After Qi Yanran dodged them, she landed on the ground and blasted the soil nearly 100 meters high. Such a strong vibration almost destroyed Mount Xianhuang. Fortunately, Mount Xianhuang's area was not small. The potholes were nothing to it. Suddenly, our origin force was about to hit Qi Yanran. The desolate heaven essence in Qi Yanran's hand immediately rolled out easily. Peng! Qi Yanran was still hit. Her figure immediately fell from the sky. After all, Qi Yanran's origin force cultivation was only at the 8th grade origin king realm. She had not truly stepped into the primitive emperor realm. In terms of maintenance, she was completely inferior to the real primitive emperor experts behind her. Moreover, the strength and realm of these people belonged to a relatively high level among the primitive emperors. A figure landed and threw a punch at Qi Yanran. The domineering and terrifying force seemed to destroy everything. The desolate heaven essence automatically protected its owner, but it was directly sent flying. He waved his fist again and hit Qi Yanran. At this moment, the mountain ocean sparrow dashed towards the black-clothed man. However, the black-clothed man was obviously prepared. After all, the mountain ocean sparrow was a supreme-level meta-beast. Although its strength had yet to mature, its potential was not to be underestimated. It was not something an ordinary meta-beast could compare with. Bang! The black-clothed man blocked the attack, but the seagull didn't fare any better. Instead, the black-clothed man's blocking hand was directly broken by the seagull. Qi Yanran leaped up in an attempt to pick up the desolate heaven essence. However, the 2 black-clothed men who had been observing from outside the battle circle finally made their move. One of them sent Qi Yanran flying with a palm strike, while the other grabbed the desolate heaven essence in his hand. When the desolate heaven essence was grabbed in his hand, it produced a resisting force. In an instant, a terrifying force burst out, blowing off the black-clothed man's hand. The desolate heaven essence also quickly swept towards Qi Yanran, transforming into a beam of light that protected her. This was the desolate heaven essence's protective mode. After it was activated, it would form an absolute defensive zone. Xuelan was fighting with a black-clothed man. However, Xuelan lacked combat experience and was quickly injured. Seeing this, Qi Yanran saw the other 2 men rushing toward Xuelan. She knew that their target was Xuelan. Immediately, Qi Yanran forcibly removed the desolate heaven essence's defensive mode. Xuelan, mountain ocean rainstorm escape. Qi Yanran and Xuelan were telepathically connected. Hence, Qi Yanran knew all the moves that Xuelan knew. Clearly, Xuelan was in a daze and only had ordinary combat instincts. However, Qi Yanran, who was in a calm state, could think of a way to deal with it and how to best use this technique. Immediately, the mountain ocean sparrow did not hesitate to let out a long cry. Immediately, the entire forest was filled with wind and rain. Strong winds blew. A sudden downpour came. Boom! The surrounding mountains, rivers, and plants seemed to be constantly changing. The three black-clothed men were trapped in their spots by this force. Not good. In the next moment, the force of the storm blew the three of them away. At the same time, the strong wind and rain also slowly disappeared. It was as if the previous scene was just an illusion. When they looked at the person in front of them, she had disappeared. She escaped. The three of them exchanged glances. What happened just now was the mountain ocean sparrow using this escape technique. It was only a blink of an eye, but they did not know where she was brought to. The three black-clothed men immediately joined forces. They spread out their mental strength and covered their surroundings. They could see everything within a 10,000-mile radius. However, they did not sense the aura of the woman and the supreme-level meta-beast. She escaped. They had lost 2 people on this mission. Furthermore, they did not achieve any effective results. Continue to investigate. If they returned like this, they would definitely be punished by their master. Hence, they had to find news of the supreme-level meta-beast. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Immediately, the 3 of them scattered on the spot. Although they couldn't find any traces of the supreme primordial beast within a radius of 10,000 miles, it was impossible for the supreme primordial beast to travel through space with this skill. It would always appear in the same place. They would definitely find something if they expanded their search area. The captain of the Qi family's guards was Qi Zhen. Today, the young mistress had encountered a strong enemy and disappeared without a trace. Such a huge incident had shocked Qi Zhen. The young mistress had gone missing. This matter must be reported to the family head secretly. Qi Zhen immediately arranged for the carts to transport the goods to the city and complete the handover. After which, he personally went to the Sacred Flame Royal City and reported everything he had seen today to Qi Shaohun. When Qi Shaohun heard the news, his expression was extremely solemn. Remember to keep this matter a secret. Did you bring back the corpses of the 2? Qi Shaohun asked. The corpses of the 2 turned into nothingness in less than half an incense's time. This is a finger that I chopped off before I disappeared, Qi Zhen said. Qi Zhen was also very experienced. He placed the finger in a box that was sealed with yuan qi. Usually, people who roamed the underworld would prepare such a thing. In fact, it was just a kind of isolation rune. It could isolate some aura and prevent the yuan qi of the item from being emitted. Alright, you've done well. I'll issue a secret order to summon Yanran back. I'll make a trip to the White Deer residence. To be able to force Qi Yanran into such a situation. The opponent's strength was obviously not simple. Even the current Qi family could not deal with it. When such a thing happened, they could only ask for Li Zongjiu's help. However, Li Zongjiu seemed to have some matters to attend to recently and rarely appeared in the royal city. Qi Yanran opened her eyes and got up. In front of her was a peaceful lake. The ripples were rugged and rippled. It was so bright that Qi Yanran could not open her eyes. Qi Yanran raised her head and saw the sunlight in the sky. She was shocked and broke out in cold sweat. This is not the holy martial continent. Chapter 1108. Xuelan. Qi Yanran called out softly. She couldn't find any trace of Xuelan, but she could feel the connection between her and Xuelan. However, the connection was blocked and she couldn't summon Xuelan to her side. Divine Sparrow Realm? When Qi Yanran walked to the lakeside, she found a stone tablet erected by the lakeside. The words written on the stone tablet were precisely these 3 words. When Qi Yanran's gaze was completely focused on the tablet. Suddenly, a suction force was released from the stone tablet and instantly sucked Qi Yanran in. There was no time for her to react. The surroundings returned to calmness. Heike Dynasty, Old Land of the 9 Cities. Li Zongjiu stood in front of the window and stared out. His mood was unstable tonight and he couldn't enter the state of cultivation. He thought that something must have happened. However, Li Zongjiu sensed that what happened could be good or bad. This made Li Zongjiu very confused. He didn't know what was going on. However, he was about to enter the Demon Suppression Palace. Perhaps this vigilance came from the Demon Suppression Palace. The dangerous situation of this trip was unknown. Wu Tian's people, Haotian sect's people, and some people from Tianyan dynasty's people. The gathering of experts from all sides was definitely not simple. Therefore, Li Zongjio wanted to seize the opportunity. Obtaining the unparalleled sword and the demon suppression seal is enough to deal with the future. Li Zongjio thought in his heart. He turned and sat back on the bed and began to adjust his aura. Tonight was destined to be a sleepless night. Let's talk about the 9 cities first. The leaders of the other 5 regions also received a message from Su Qin. The content of the message was very simple. Evil Lord invited everyone to have a meeting tomorrow at noon in the territory of Soldier City. If you don't come, you'll have to bear the consequences. With just these 2 simple sentences, the 5 of them were prepared for different things. Some didn't even care about this evil lord. You're an evil overlord in the outside world. You've killed a lot of people. But you'll have to tuck your tail between your legs when you're in the 9 cities. Everyone in the 9 cities kills people like flies. They don't even spit out the bones when they eat people. Therefore, he was already prepared and did not care about Li Zongjio at all. There were also some who believed that this was a trap set up by Su Qin and Huang Weihu. It was said that Huang Weihu defeated 2 major forces this morning. If it was Huang Weihu alone, it would be very difficult for him to achieve this. Therefore, it must be the people of the southern city who secretly made a move. Now, he had found an excuse to invite them to Soldier City for a meeting. Was this a joke? Did they look like fools? Would they allow themselves to be manipulated like this? There were also those who planned to go. But they had already contacted and made arrangements in secret. Because the information they received before was related to this evil lord, the information was more accurate. They also knew that the evil lord defeated the people of the Haotian sect tonight and drove out the people of the Haotian sect. There must be a lot of complicated methods behind this. But the only thing they knew was that the evil lord was not someone they could provoke. Therefore, it was better for them to obediently go to the meeting. They knew Su Chen's temper. He would not shed tears until he saw the coffin. This set of old bones was ruthless and fearless. He had made the southern city impregnable. Moreover, he was also extremely good at defense. He did not like to take the initiative to attack. However, if he was hit, he would definitely not suffer any losses. He would risk his life to bite back this piece of meat. This was Su Chen's temper. Since Su Chen came to inform them of this matter, he obviously knew how powerful the evil lord was. This was already certain, so naturally, they did not dare to be careless. The people of the 9 cities were all prepared. However, they were also extremely uneasy about the fate that would befall them tomorrow. No one knew what the situation would be like. The dignified evil lord, with just 1 sentence, had already caused the land of the 9 cities to fall into an extremely tense state. Only the evil lord had such ability and influence. On the other side, it was the Haotian sect's 3rd martial uncle who had suffered and been humiliated. His real name was Yang Antai. In the Haotian sect's duty hall, he was the 2nd in command among all the deacons. His status was respected. The disciple who was crippled was the disciple of the Haotian sect's Wuliang Peak Master. Boundless Peak's Peak Master and Yang Antai were also fellow disciples. That was why he called Yang Antai 3rd martial uncle. But this time, they left in a hurry, and the 2 people's elemental pearls were also crippled. There was no hope at all, so Yang Antai decisively chose to give up. After all, no one knew the situation at that time. If he did something more and inadvertently angered Li Zongjio again, the consequences would be even worse. The consequences would be even worse. Perhaps the 2 of them would not be able to return today. The 2 of them had also rehearsed their words along the way. The ruthless evil lord, Li Zongjio, did not put them in his eyes at all. He had also insulted the Haotian sect many times. In the end, he even sneakily attacked the 2 martial nephews. The 2 of them were severely injured and had their cultivations crippled. Not only that, they even captured the 2 of them and used them as hostages. Initially, the 2 of them wanted to fight to the death. However, after considering the situation of the 2 of them, they could only return and report this matter to the sect. And the two of them were very coincidental. On the way, they met Elder Lu Wan, who had been wandering around for a few days and did not dare to return to the sect. He had been driven out of the Black Canal royal city. Originally, he should have returned directly to the sect. But the elder who was injured by the King of Fire was too seriously injured, so he had to recuperate for a few days. When he recovered a little, he hurried back to the sect. In the middle of the night, he met Deputy Hall Master Yang Antai, who had hurried back from afar. Deputy Hall Master Yang, what's the matter? Yang Antai saw that Lu Wan's face was full of worry, and at the same time, there was a shadow that lingered between his eyebrows. It's a long story. Aren't you in the Black Canal royal city? Why did you return to the sect? Suddenly, Yang Antai thought of some rumors about Li Zongjio. It was said that Li Zongjio seemed to have destroyed the Black Canal Basilica. Lu Wan happened to be in charge of this matter. Don't tell me you were messed up by that guy called Evil Lord? Yang Antai immediately asked with a gloomy face. How did you know? Today, we were ordered to occupy the land of the 9 cities. In the end, who knew that Li Zongjio would appear? He was extremely strong. We fought with him for thousands of rounds, but in the end, we were seriously injured by him. 2 of our martial nephews were also captured by him. Chapter 1109. At dawn. In the land of 9 cities, within the territory of Soldier City, there was an extremely tense state of deployment and vigilance. These people were all ambitious and no one could guarantee what they would do. The most important thing was to be careful and take precautions. Today, people from the other 6 cities would be present. The first to arrive was naturally Su Chen from the South City. Su Chen only brought a few loyal subordinates with him. Of course, the rest of the troops were also on standby. If they received the signal, they would certainly not hesitate to attack. You're quite early. Huang Weihu and Su Chen chatted. Su Chen was considered an old senior in the land of 9 cities. His position was respected, and the fact that he could survive until now was enough to prove his strength. If Huang Weihu wanted to choose an alliance, he would definitely choose to ally with Su Chen. The main hall for the meeting was called the Stone Heart Hall. The Stone Heart Hall used a round table. Those who arrived would be seated first. There was no hierarchy or anything like that. Only the leaders sat in the Stone Heart Hall. The rest of the guards also waited directly outside the hall. Once the Stone Heart Hall was closed, the inside and outside would be blocked. Moreover, the layout of the Stone Heart Hall could be seen clearly at a glance. There was no need to worry about any ambush. In addition, because of the structure of the Stone Heart Hall, it was useless to inscribe a Yuan inscription formation on it. General Sun Hong from the North City has arrived. General Shi Tian from the East City has arrived. General Lu Chuanfei from the West City has arrived. The 3 of them seem to have agreed to arrive at the same time. I haven't come to the Stone Heart Hall for a long time. How did this place become so dilapidated? After General Sun Hong from the North City walked in, he sat down boldly and put his legs directly on the table. At the same time, he also sneered at the environment of the Stone Heart Hall. In the past, the Stone Heart Hall was the place where the leaders of the land of 9 cities held their annual meeting every year. Even if the relationship between them was tense, they would still come here for the meeting. Of course, this was a tradition left by the ancestors. Later on, this tradition was no longer maintained. Now, unless there was an invasion, no one would come to the Stone Heart Hall to discuss matters. In the past, the relationship between the leaders of the 9 cities was relatively good. However, the people under them were also constantly competing. At the end of the year, if there were still some serious conflicts that had not been resolved, then everyone would discuss in the Stone Heart Palace. Those who needed to be compensated would be compensated, and those who needed to be returned to their territories would be returned to their territories. However, later on, the situation in the 9 cities became even more chaotic, and there was even a change of dynasty. In the end, this fine tradition was shelved. Old Su, since I've met you here today, let's have a proper discussion. You're from the southern city. How dare you step into the territory of my northern city? Do you think I'm dead? Clearly, this Sun Hong had an extremely violent temper. Before coming here, he had already discussed with the other two. With the three of them joining forces, their strength was definitely considered to be extremely strong, at least in this Stoneheart Hall. Hence, there was no need to worry about other situations. It was impossible for all 6 of them to work together. So what if I step on you? Su Chen said disdainfully. Here, it was meaningless to talk about right and wrong. Only when you were strong, you were right. Only when you had a bigger fist was the absolute truth. Otherwise, even if you were right, it would be useless. Well, then I'd like to see whether the ancestral teachings of the Stoneheart Palace can protect you today. Sun Hong slammed the table in front of him. Suddenly, with a loud bang, the stone table in front of him shook violently at this moment. The ancestral teachings of the Stoneheart Palace. You can't fight in the Stoneheart Palace. If you want to fight, you have to wait until you leave the Stoneheart Palace. At that time, you can fight however you want. Seeing that the two of them were about to fight, Huang Weihu and the others did not try to stop them. Anyway, they could not stop them. Sooner or later, they would fight. It was better to kill a few of them now. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Su Chen's momentum did not decrease at all. Just when both sides were unable to back down, another voice came from outside the door. Wild Lion City General Zhou Bachuan has arrived. Zhou Bachuan? When they heard this name, everyone's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. Among the generals of the 9 cities, they had more or less understood each other's temperament. Everyone guessed that with Zhou Bachuan's character, he would definitely not come. This was because Zhou Bachuan was very disdainful and did not put anyone in his eyes. However, Zhou Bachuan's territory was the smallest. It was also because of this small territory that Zhou Bachuan was very convenient and efficient in managing it. It was also very difficult for outsiders to break in. Ordinary people did not dare to provoke Zhou Bachuan at all. In addition, Zhou Bachuan's strength was also very tyrannical. If it was not necessary, no one would provoke him. Originally, they thought that Zhou Bachuan would not care about the news that Su Chen had sent before. Who would have thought that he would actually come in person this time? The stocky Zhou Bachuan walked in, wearing a golden armor. He was the one who looked the most like a general among these people. It was said that Zhou Bachuan was indeed a soldier. Later on, he wandered to the 9 cities and started a series of entrepreneurial battles. In the end, he came to this step today and became one of the 9 great leaders. All the soldiers under him were extremely well trained. They looked just like a regular army. I didn't expect that even General Zhou would come in person. I thought that General Zhou would not come. Sun Hong said. This Sun Hong was really annoying. He liked to chat with people when he saw them and then insisted on increasing his sense of existence. However, Zhou Bachuan directly sat down. He did not care about Sun Hong's words at all, as if he did not hear them at all. When Zhou Bachuan sat down, an invisible deterrence was formed. Sun Hong's aura was not worth mentioning at all in front of the latter. After being directly ignored, Sun Hong obviously felt a little bored. In the end, he could only look at Su Chen. After today's meeting is over, I'll come and settle the score with you. Huang Weihu, that evil lord, are you coming or not? If not, I'm going to leave. This general is very busy. Sun Hong said arrogantly. One had to know that Sun Hong was a great general who controlled tens of thousands of soldiers and horses. He was above tens of thousands of people. In his own territory, he could kill anyone he wanted. Being able to come here could be considered as giving face to evil lord. However, now that 6 of them had arrived, Li Zongjio still did not appear. Did he really think that they were street gangsters? However, no one paid any attention to Sun Hong. After Sun Hong shouted a few words, he directly sat down, moving here and there. Finally, another figure walked in. However, it was a girl in a black gauze dress, not Li Zongjio. Wan Yulan walked in. Everyone's eyes suddenly fell on Wan Yulan. Is everyone here? Yes, Miss Wan. Except for the general of War City, everyone else is already here. Huang Weihu quickly got up and said. Then, he introduced the people in front of him to Wan Yulan. Why is it a girl? Could it be that the legendary evil lord is a girl? Sun Hong said sarcastically, obviously mocking Wan Yulan. Immediately, Wan Yulan's eyes suddenly became cold, faintly revealing a cold light. When her eyes fell on Sun Hong had a very uncomfortable feeling, but how could he, Sun Hong, be scared by such a little girl? What? Do you want to eat me? I'm afraid it's not convenient here. Why don't you come to my room and we can have a good talk? Sun Hong said flirtatiously. Immediately, Wan Yulan's eyes released a cold light, and as her eyes flashed, Sun Hong's body seemed to be imprisoned by some kind of force. Spiritual force. Sun Hong immediately sensed it. His face suddenly changed. However, at the same time, a jade talisman on Sun Hong's body lit up instantly. Bang! Sun Hong was directly shaken out and fell to the ground, but he didn't suffer any serious injuries. However, Sun Hong himself was shocked. The spiritual force just now was very terrifying. Fortunately, he had a protective treasure in his hand. Shi Tian and Lu Chuanfei looked at each other. They took out their weapons one after another, facing Wan Yulan in front of them. This stinky girl, you dare to break the ancestral teachings of the Stone Heart Palace and ignore the rules of the 9 cities. What are you waiting for? Take this stinky girl down. Chapter 11:10. Zhou Bachuan glanced at them. His eyes clearly meant that he wanted to say something else. You guys are here to deal with a little girl, yet you still need 3 men to do it. You even dare to call others to help you. Do you have any shame? I feel ashamed for you guys. Huang Weihu and Su Chen naturally couldn't do anything. Huang Weihu knew that Wan Yulan's identity wasn't simple. Wan Yulan was also with Li Zongjio, so Wan Yulan naturally represented Li Zongjio. None of you? It seems that you guys treat the words of the ancestor as bullshit. Brothers, call for reinforcements. Since no one was willing to do anything, it meant that no one took the ancestor's words seriously. Of course, they had to call for reinforcements. There was no need for the Stone Heart Palace to continue existing. Today, they would take advantage of this opportunity to completely destroy the Stone Heart Palace. At this point, there was no need for the 9 cities to listen to others. There was no need to care about these people who were already buried in the ground. Wan Yulan immediately sneered. These people really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Then, her mental strength immediately turned into a raging wave, directly sending the 2 people in front of her flying. Bang bang! Their bodies directly smashed into the wall, and the weapons in their hands fell out. After circling in the air, they directly rushed towards Sun Hong. Sun Hong hurriedly pulled out his long saber and slashed down in front of him. Clang! A distant collision sound was heard. Sun Hong only felt that his hands seemed to be numb. The force was very strong, and at the same time, it was endless. A saber and a spear quickly smashed towards Sun Hong. In 2 moves, the saber in Sun Hong's hand was directly knocked away. The long spear penetrated Sun Hong's shoulder, easily nailing Sun Hong to the wall. The other saber directly flew out. Clang! After a flash of cold light, the saber was directly inserted into Sun Hong's head. The end of the saber was still trembling slightly. Sun Hong's eyes widened because the knife was tightly pressed against Sun Hong's scalp. If it had sunk a little more, it would have been enough to split Sun Hong apart. It was as if he had taken a trip to the gates of hell. It made Sun Hong lose all his strength. At this moment, Sun Hong's eyes were filled with fear. Zhou Bachuan and the others glanced at Wan Yulan. Just by using his mental strength, he was able to force the 3 masters into such a state. If he wanted to kill them, their heads would have already fallen to the ground. If you still want to live, then sit back down obediently. Wan Yulan said indifferently. Li Zongjio entrusted Wan Yulan to handle the distribution of tasks. After all, Wan Yulan was obviously better at these things. With so many people mixed in, it was not easy to distribute the tasks. If it was not done properly, it would be inefficient. If you let Li Zongjio kill everyone in this room, it would naturally be easy. There would be no difficulty. To gather so many people to find the entrance to the Demon Immortal Palace. Naturally, it would require a more delicate distribution. Sure enough, after teaching them a lesson, these people also became well-behaved. Wan Yulan counted. There were only 6 people present. Excluding the 2 people Li Zongjio killed yesterday, there should be 1 person left. Before dark today, I want you to bring the head of the last person. This 5th grade Green Heaven spiritual elixir is his. If you can't bring it back, then one of you will have to accompany him. Wan Yulan said. Sun Hong and the others naturally did not dare to speak, especially Sun Hong's shoulder. At this moment, he had to endure the pain of his shoulder and stared at Wan Yulan. Although Wan Yulan did not mention a name, Sun Hong did not hesitate to believe that if someone were to be targeted, it must be him, Sun Hong. This second matter, if anyone spreads it out, they will definitely die. The entrance to the Demon Immortal Palace must be in the 9 cities, and there will be movements in the near future. I want you to always pay attention to the movements in your own territory. Once there is news, immediately inform me. At that time, the evil lord will personally reward you. Wan Yulan said lightly. Demon Immortal Palace. When they heard this news, the 6 people were obviously surprised. One must know that this matter could be said to be a big matter in the Haiku dynasty. If he were to sell this information, he would be able to get a lot of benefits. Just by hearing about the Demon Immortal Palace, there were already many storms in the Jianghu before the Demon Immortal Palace even appeared. The most serious was a group of formation masters being kidnapped by a mysterious expert. However, many people also directly pointed the spearhead at the evil lord. However, there was no evidence. Even the Jihua sect that leaked the news at the beginning was not sure if it was the evil lord who did it. Now that the entrance to such an important place was in the 9 cities, it was no wonder that these people were a little excited. Regarding the news about the Demon Immortal Palace, today, you will make a blood oath here. If you spread it out, may the heavens and earth destroy you. The time limit is 7 days. After 7 days, the blood oath will be lifted. If anyone is unwilling, you can raise your hand. Wan Yulan threw out a blood oath scroll. This was a scroll about faith. The will of the heavens and earth always existed in everyone's heart. Therefore, if everyone swore to their heart, it would come true. This blood oath scroll was made by some extremely devout people who spent a lot of time refining it. Immediately, the 6 people exchanged glances. Huang Weihu naturally did not hesitate to make a blood oath. Then he pressed a bloody handprint on the scroll. Could it be that these people thought that Li Zongjio sent people to discuss things with them? Since the matter had been diluted to such an extent, it should have given them a sufficient opportunity. Otherwise, they would have been like the Supreme Sky sect, directly supporting 1 or 2 of the factions to annex the territories of the other factions and gather their forces to find the existence of this place. What could they do? There would definitely be heavy casualties, and by then, no one knew who would be able to survive. If these people did not make a blood oath today, they would be carried out. The rest of the group followed suit. Sun Hong was much simpler. He wiped his shoulder and pressed his handprint on the scroll. There was only 1 person left who had not made a blood oath. Zhou Bachuan. I have a request. Zhou Bachuan said. Wan Yulan looked at him. Previously, Wan Yulan had a certain understanding of the people in the 9 cities. Among them, Zhou Bachuan was the most difficult to understand. Zhou Bachuan did not seem to have any intention of fighting for hegemony. He only wanted to bring a place for his people to live in. Therefore, among the many people, they were the most difficult group to control. This was because they were not greedy and had a firm will. At the same time, Wan Yulan also guessed that the identity of Zhou Bachuan and the others in front of her was actually a private army. She just did not know which noble's army belonged to. Speak. Wan Yulan said. She had a lot of respect for giants. As long as these people were obedient, there would be no problem. If you find the entrance, please let me enter the Demon Suppression Palace with you. I will not take any treasures. Zhou Bachuan said. Wan Yulan frowned. What did Zhou Bachuan mean by this? However, Zhou Bachuan was not a threat to them. Since he wanted to go together, there was no harm. In order to make these people work harder and search for the entrance. Wan Yulan naturally nodded. Okay, I promise you. Zhou Bachuan suddenly laughed. Then he made a blood oath and pressed his bloody handprint. If you all work hard, evil lord will not mistreat you. Wan Yulan said and left the Stone Heart Palace. The 6 people were still sitting in their seats. Who will deal with that guy in War City? My men are located far away, and they haven't been training much recently. Last time, we lost a lot of men, so I'm here to support you. Sun Hong said straightforwardly. He was simply shameless. War City, Matingzhan. He was also a very powerful and ruthless character. Leave this person to me. Wild Lion City's General Zhou Bachuan stood up and said. Among these people, it seemed that only Zhou Bachuan had the ability to face the enemy head-on. I will bring people to support you. Huang Weihu also stood up and said. Chapter 11:11. Li Zongjio was studying the stone tripod cauldron in his hand. Since it was used as a guide for the Demon Suppression Palace, there must be something mysterious about it. The reason why he sent people to find the entrance to the Demon Suppression Palace so quickly was because Li Zongjio also believed that there was more than one stone tripod cauldron. Soon, others would receive the news. Just like these people from the Haoyan sect. You and I will set up the maze formation and hide the entire 9 cities. After pondering for a while, Li Zongjio finally decided to hide the land of the 9 cities first. The maze formation covered the entire 9 cities. Firstly, it could isolate the aura. Secondly, it could at least buy more time. At the same time, it could prevent these people from spreading the news. But what Li Zongjio didn't know was that Wan Yulan had already made those people swear a blood oath. No one dared to break the oath. Li Yun and Li Zongjio spent the whole afternoon setting up the maze formation. Your cultivation of formations has improved so quickly. Li Yun's talent in formations was already considered good. But Li Zongjio's talent was even more terrifying than hers. It's because I refined those people's cultivation that I was able to make such great progress. No, the maze formation in the incomplete book of formations doesn't have much requirement for the formation master's cultivation. If the formation master's cultivation is strong, the power of the formation will be stronger, and the weak ones will be weaker. But after you read it twice, you can directly understand it. You don't need to study it too much. This is why your talent is so strong. Li Yun obviously had a more thorough understanding of the study of the incomplete book of formations than Li Zongjio. Now, what Li Yun said made Li Zongjio feel a little strange. In his previous life, he had also wanted to study formations, but he didn't make much progress. The main reason was that this wasn't his hobby. But just now, when Li Yun showed him the introduction of the maze array, he only read it twice and completely mastered it, as if it was a very simple thing. This surprised Li Zongjio himself. He originally thought that it was only because his cultivation of formations had improved, so when he looked at these things, it was naturally much simpler. But now, after Li Yun's reminder, could it be that I've been enlightened? Li Zongjio was also puzzled. It was hard to explain things like orifices awakening. The human body itself was very mysterious. It was like being able to cultivate and break through continuously. In his previous life, Li Zongjio was only at the peak of the Supreme Being realm. But Li Zongjio could feel that there was a lot of potential in his body that had yet to be unlocked. To what extent could a person's body develop? Li Zongjio heard a rumor that the mountains, rivers, and swamps were all formed from the body of an ancient god after his death. At first, it seemed like a myth. But in reality, it was not impossible in the eyes of the strong. For example, if a supreme being who cultivated ice elemental energy died on a barren mountain, the energy in his body would directly flow into the barren mountain. Over time, the barren mountain would become a glacier. Orifice's awakening was like suddenly opening up a road that had never been taken before. Originally, one would need to dig bit by bit and very patiently dig deep to be able to open up this road. But under certain circumstances, when this road was opened up, wouldn't one be able to move forward courageously? Li Zongjio was also guessing. Then, Li Zongjio took the remnants of the formation book from Li Yun. With one look, it was out of control. The two of them were still outside the city. Li Zongjio was sitting on the ground, reading the remnants of the formation book in his hands. Li Yun was beside him to protect him. Originally, Li Zongjio was just casually flipping through the book, but who knew that once the book was opened, it would be difficult to close it. The King of Fire and Wan Yulan also came to take a look. "I'll be fine here. You can go about your business," the King of Fire said. Li Zongjio had already been sitting outside the city for 3 days. He flipped from the first page to the last. When Li Zongjio closed the book and closed his eyes, it was as if the door to a new world had been easily pushed open, and a new world appeared in front of him. Why is it only at level 7? Li Zongjio seemed to have a feeling that he had not had enough. After reading the book in his hands, he still did not feel satisfied. He was already an 8th level formation master. Therefore, if his level was high enough, he could continue reading and naturally learn up to the 8th level formation. In just 3 days, Li Zongjio had already learned all the formations in the remnants of the formation book. Although it could be said that he had not really reached the level of mastery, he could roughly grasp it. However, he was able to roughly grasp it, so there was naturally no problem in using it. However, the array formation scroll in his hand was really just a remnant scroll. This made Li Zongjio feel as if he had not eaten his fill and had already been taken away from the table by someone else. "I'm hungry." Li Zongjio touched his stomach. The King of Fire and Li Yun were both waiting beside Li Zongjio. When they saw that Li Zongjio had woken up, they also went forward. "You've learned all of it?" The King of Fire looked at Li Zongjio in surprise. At that time, Li Yan also gave the Fire Wraith King the remnants of the array formation scroll. However, the Fire Wraith King was not very interested in arrays at that time. As for his own strength, he was born with it. Later on, he did not have to learn much before he mastered it. However, the King of Fire could also see that the formation book in Li Yun's hands had an extraordinary origin. The formations recorded in the book all had a certain ancient attribute. In terms of the degree of deciphering, it was more difficult. In terms of power, it was also more powerful. For example, the 6th level formation's power was actually equivalent to a 7th level formation. The 7th level formations recorded in the last 3 books were directly equivalent to the power of an 8th level formation. Even if it was a remnant book, it was enough to become a top formation book at that time. Throughout the Heike dynasty, there were only a few 8th level formation masters. Basically, I've learned all of them. Li Zongjio said, "If there's a chance, we have to find the remaining half of the book. At least there's still so much content that we haven't found yet." Immediately, Li Zongjio directly pointed with his finger. At least half of the content was left. Even this book was only about 1/3 of the content. How terrifying would the formations recorded in the latter part of the book be? "Let's go back and eat something first. I'll treat you to braised meat rice," Li Zongjio said directly. Immediately, he waved his hand and brought the 2 women back to the 9 cities. In addition to the forces of the 9 cities, of course, there were also many residents and people who came to trade in the past. However, the situation seemed to be more serious recently. Even the people who came to trade were now hiding and did not dare to show themselves easily. It was said that the city was shuffling the cards. The head of the leader of one of the forces, the general who was known as the God of War, was directly hung in the market. Next to him were the heads of his 10 loyal subordinates. It formed an extremely terrifying deterrent. Chapter 11-12. Therefore, these people had become a lot more well-behaved recently. However, they had also heard that the one who had crippled the so-called war god was the general of Wild Lion City, Zhou Bachuan. This was Zhou Bachuan's battle record that day. It was also very shocking. Even Sun Hong, who had always been arrogant, was completely shocked that day. Zhou Bachuan only brought 20 people and had the rest wait outside while he led his men into War City's territory. Suddenly, blood flowed like a river in War City as blades flashed and swords flashed. The battle lasted for an hour. Shouts and screams shook the sky. In the end, corpses covered the entire street. Although Zhou Bachuan's subordinates were seriously injured, none of them died. 21 people walked out of the bloody street with their heads in their hands. At that time, the evil chi of these 21 people was the fiercest these people had ever seen in so many years. A truly ruthless person didn't need to kill people every day, they only needed to kill once at a critical moment. Just this one battle was enough for these people to remember for a few more years. Damn, this is too awesome. Sun Hong and the others couldn't help but recall the scene from that day. They were shocked again and again in their hearts. Every time they thought about it, they were shocked again and again. They were speechless. Who would have thought that this big brute, who was usually silent and always liked to wear armor, would actually have such strength? Although armor had defensive properties, it was more of an ornamental effect. Its true defensive properties were far inferior to a protective talisman or some kind of inner armor. Of course, if it was a special armor, it would be a different story. However, Zhou Bachuan, who looked like a poor commoner, didn't look like someone who could make such a super armor. Li Zongjio and the others were eating in a restaurant in the city. Wan Yulan had also come, and had brought with him some considerable information. Currently, there were a few strange places in the city, and they were all believed to be the entrance to the Demon Immortal Palace. However, these places revealed a trace of strangeness that made people not dare to approach them easily. Therefore, there was no way to investigate. But now it had been sealed and no one was allowed to approach. Who is this Zhou Bachuan? So powerful? Li Zongjio was interested in Zhou Bachuan. Although Li Zongjio had never heard of Zhou Bachuan's name, about 300 years ago in his previous life, there was a very powerful military force that appeared on the mainland. This was a wild army that didn't belong to any faction. However, it had its own banner. It was called the Bachuan Army. The Bachuan Army's greatest battle was to conquer Raiders Island. The Raiders Island was the main culprit of the chaos on the mainland at that time. The Chuan Fu Army, with only 400 people, directly landed on the Raiders Island without saying anything. Then, they launched a fierce battle for 4 days and 4 nights, killing nearly 30,000 bandits on the other side. From then on, they became famous. However, this Bachuan army directly disappeared after pacifying Raiders Island. No one knew where these Bachuan army went. I also checked the information, but there was no accurate information. Wan Yulan also frowned and said, when Zhou Bachuan appeared, she already felt that something was wrong, but she didn't find any clues. Few people knew the origin of this group of people led by Zhou Bachuan. It's okay. Let's just take these people. Since Zhou Bachuan wants to go in, let's go together. Tell him that not only can he go in, but he can also bring people in. Li Zongjio said while eating. Wan Yulan nodded. With Li Zongjio's temper, he naturally wouldn't care about Zhou Bachuan's little tricks. Now, it seemed that Li Zongjio was very interested in this person called Zhou Bachuan. After the meal, Li Zongjio and the others also followed Wan Yulan to 3 strange places in the city that could be the entrance. The first place they came to was a dry well. The dry well had been dry for hundreds of years. However, some time ago, black liquid began to seep out from the ground. Furthermore, the liquid was constantly emitting a foul stench. It was unbearable. In the end, it was forcibly sealed by someone. However, just yesterday, the black water in the well gushed out directly and permeated the surroundings. It was quite corrosive. Fortunately, the eruption of the mysterious black water only lasted for a short period of time. If it continued, no one knew what would happen. This black well just happened to appear in Sun Hong's territory. It was also the first time that Sun Hong saw the real face of the evil lord. To be honest, when Sun Hong saw Li Zongjio for the first time, he couldn't help but look down on him. How dare a kid who hadn't even grown out his hair call himself the evil lord? However, when Sun Hong saw that Wan Yulan consciously followed Li Zongjio, he naturally didn't dare to say anything. This well used to be a dry well. Recently, strange things have happened. Many people say that this is a cursed well. At this moment, the well cover had been opened, and the black water was gently swaying under the well. I don't think this place can be the entrance. Only a fool would jump down from here. Anything that falls down will be corroded by the black water. Sun Hong said. After Li Zongjio took a closer look, he then looked at Sun Hong. What's your name again? Sun Hong was stunned. He didn't understand why Li Zongjio suddenly asked this. Li Zongjio really deserved to die. He didn't even know Sun Hong's name. I'm General Sun Hong. When Sun Hong said this, he was a little proud and slightly puffed out his chest. Okay, You help me explore the way down, Li Zongjio said. Before Sun Hong understood what Li Zongjio meant, Li Zongjio had already grabbed Sun Hong and directly threw him into the black well. Ah! Sun Hong only had time to let out a scream. Then, with a splash, he fell directly into the black well. When Sun Hong's subordinates saw this, they immediately wanted to take action. However, Wan Yulan just turned around and glanced at these people. These people also dilly-dallied and didn't dare to come closer. Seems like it's not here? Sun Hong's body was corroded by the black water not long after. It emitted a foul smell. In the future, you will be in charge of his territory. Li Zongjio casually pointed. This person was one of Sun Hong's subordinates. He had been loyal to Sun Hong for many years. Originally, he thought that he would never have the opportunity to rise up in this life. However, he was suddenly promoted, which made this person very surprised. Yes, subordinate Ho Baoshan obeys. This black water is the blood of the demon clan. This should be connected to a blood pool. The surrounding array is a little broken, which caused the blood to flow out. Li Yun, repair the array here. Killing Sun Hong was a piece of cake for Li Zongjio. He didn't even take it seriously. He clapped his hands and left. Li Yun stayed to repair the seal array temporarily. The next two places they went still didn't find anything. However, there were already people coming to the land of the 9 cities. However, these people didn't find the land of the 9 cities because the land of the 9 cities had been covered by the maze arrays set up by Li Zongjio and Li Yun. In the sky, the warship from the Haotian sect patrolled back and forth in the air, but they didn't see any signs of the city. Are you sure it's here? Yang Antai stood respectfully at the side. Lu Wan and the others followed beside him. Only a man in a purple gold robe was sitting on an extremely luxurious chair. There was a purple gold tiger lying next to his feet. The tiger's tail swayed slightly, but there was an extremely strong evil spirit. The Haotian sect's Haotian worship was self-developed, but in fact, it was processed from other places. Some of the things were forcibly taken from other worships and installed. Deputy sect leader, it must be here, but I don't know why I can't find it. However, it must be here. It's such a big city, how can it run away? Then let's have a bombardment. Deputy sect leader Liu Baixian said indifferently. Immediately, he waved his hand. Immediately, countless black cannon barrels stretched out from the Haotian worship and began to bombard the forest below. Rumble. In an instant, the earth shook and the mountains shook. Chapter 11:13. Even the earth was shaking violently. The people in the 9 cities were almost thrown off their feet by the shaking. With great difficulty, his body finally stabilized. Dozens of waves of air came in a row. Rumble! The terrifying waves kept hitting the land of the 9 cities. However, the shockwaves were blocked by a light screen. The generals were shocked when they felt the strong shaking. Li Zongjio and King of Fire looked up at the sky. The people outside couldn't see inside, but the people inside could see outside. It's the Haotian sect. Wan Yulan exclaimed when she saw the Haotian sect's flag and the Haotian worship. They did it in such a way. The Haotian sect has no respect for the law. Although the 9 cities was chaotic, it was still within the Haiku dynasty. Moreover, it was the territory of the Haiku dynasty. The Haotian sect used its strength to force them out in such a way. The use of such heavy weapons violated the Haiku dynasty's law of peace. Relying on his own strength, he could actually do whatever he wanted. I heard that there's an arrogant evil lord here. Do you dare to come out and fight with me? A voice came from the worship. The people in the city were also very surprised. The name of the evil dominator had spread to this city in the past 2 days. Many people who came from the outside had heard of the evil dominator's name, but very few people had seen the evil dominator's true appearance. Once they heard that the famous evil dominator was actually in this city, they all became excited and started discussing with each other. Zhou Bichuan and the others stared at the Haotian worship in the sky with killing intent. They seemed to have a strong fighting spirit in their hearts. However, in the face of the Haotian sect's experts, Zhou Bichuan and the others were obviously very weak. It seems that the legendary evil lord is just a coward. Lu Baixin looked down. At this moment, the location of the 9 cities was very obvious. The silhouette of a city could be clearly seen below. Because of the protection of the formation, the previous round of cannon fire didn't cause any damage. Naturally, this location was exposed. However, Lu Baixin was also slightly surprised. Just now, under his nose, he used his mind power to search but found nothing. This made Lu Baixin think more highly of Li Zongjiu's strength. He must not underestimate this evil lord. However, this evil lord was arrogant. He should teach him a lesson. Like I said, the place is here. Yang Antai muttered softly. When he came here that day, he had done a good job of positioning himself. This was because the situation in this mountain would indeed change greatly. Sometimes, he would not know where the person had gone even if he just turned around in a circle. The light screen opened. Li Zongjiu and the King of Fire rose into the sky. The people in the 9 cities also stopped what they were doing and looked up at the man and woman in the sky. The man was naturally evil lord. As for the woman, it was very likely that she was the legendary Supreme Flame. It was said that Supreme Flame's strength was more powerful than evil lord's. The relationship between the two seemed to be brother and sister, but also seemed to be lovers. Anyway, the rest of the people did not know the situation and only knew to make wild guesses. Are they finally going to show their skills? Seeing the 2 people rise into the sky, Lu Chuanfei and Shi Quan hurriedly sent someone to inform Sun Hong. Unexpectedly, someone came to report that Sun Hong was killed by evil lord a few minutes ago. The person in charge now was Sun Hong's subordinate, Ho Baoshan. What? Dead? When Lu Chuanfei and Shi Quan heard this, they couldn't believe their ears. A dignified big shot of the 9 cities died just like that, without any warning at all. Moreover, no one seemed to know the reason. Someone saw Li Zongjiu push Sun Hong directly into the dry well. Then, Sun Hong turned into a pool of blood. It was a tragic end. There was indeed a trace of shock in their eyes. It seemed that this Li Zongjiu was truly a ruthless person. The person who came is surnamed Lu. Could he be the Haotian sect's deputy sect leader? I heard that this Lu Baixin has been cultivating for more than 200 years and has long been unparalleled in the world. More than 100 years ago, his name shook the entire Haiku dynasty. Now, he actually came personally to kill him. Everyone was guessing. This person could be said to be the Haotian sect's golden signboard. Today, he showed up here to win back face for the Haotian sect. Otherwise, others would think that the Haotian sect was easy to bully. It's actually Lu Baixin who is personally killing him. Wan Yulan finally understood why the other party was so arrogant and dared to open fire on the city in the Haiku dynasty. It was because the person who came was Lu Baixin, the Haotian sect's deputy sect leader. He was an all-powerful person 100 years ago. At that time, he was already standing at the top of the continent. There were not many things in the world that he had to worry about. Wan Yulan did not expect that Lu Baixin would actually personally take action. This was indeed somewhat unexpected and unexpected. A battle between an expert of the previous era and a rising star of the younger generation. Speaking of Lu Baixin, 100 years ago, he was definitely more arrogant than the current Li Zongjiu. Now that the 2 of them were fighting here, it would definitely be a battle of the century. Li Zongjiu and King of Fire soared into the air. Lu Baixin saw Li Zongjiu and King of Fire rushing out. He directly ignored Li Zongjiu and focused his attention on King of Fire. The fire attribute in this woman's body is incomparably pure. If I capture and refine her, it will definitely improve my skills. Just as Lu Baixin was thinking about refining King of Fire's skills and making his own powerful strength, he suddenly saw Li Zongjiu directly accelerate and directly collide with them. Boom! Li Zongjiu's speed was incomparably fast. What is this guy trying to do? Lu Wan could not help but be surprised. In the next second, Li Zongjiu directly crashed into the Haotian warship with a loud bang. Immediately, billowing smoke erupted from the Haotian warship and soared into the sky. The control room in the cabin also instantly exploded at this moment. Bang! The huge Haotian warship directly fell from the sky. I let you go back alive to pass on the message. Since you still don't know what's good for you, then leave your lives here. Li Zongjio held the black dragon hammer in his hand and stared at the people in front of him indifferently. Originally, there were many disciples in the cabin who piloted the warship. However, they were directly killed in the explosion. As for Lu Baixin and the others, their cultivation was not weak. Their figures also hovered in the air, forming a confrontation with Li Zongjio. Young man, don't be too arrogant. You should know that there is always someone better than you. Lu Baixin looked at Li Zongjio in front of him and said. There was a hint of guiding the younger generation in his tone. Clearly, he was telling Li Zongjio that he was still too young and did not know the immensity of heaven and earth just because he had a little ability. In front of an old senior like him, he should obediently put away his arrogance. I don't know that there is always someone better than you, but I have seen a lot of dead people. As his voice fell, Li Zongjio directly smashed his hammer towards Lu Baixin. The black dragon hammer immediately bloomed with the power of thunder and lightning, like countless electric nets covering the entire sky. Lu Baixin saw that the other party was coming at him aggressively and was not as simple as it seemed. He immediately stretched out his hand and a tyrannical aura surged out of his body. Suddenly, the yuan qi in his body formed a fire sword and slashed forward. Boom! Using fire to fight against lightning. Under the sword, the lightning actually quickly dodged to the sides. It was split open by the other party's aura. Lu Baixin in front of him was indeed a cultivator with a lower cultivation base. If Li Zongjio were to fight the latter one-on-one, he would have to expend a lot of energy. However, Li Zongjio was not alone at this moment. No matter what method he used, as long as he could kill him, it would be a good thing. The King of Fire soared into the sky with a flaming gust of wind. The King of Fire seemed to have transformed into a fire phoenix behind him. The fire phoenix spread its wings and instantly covered the sky. The sky was filled with incomparably deep flames. Just by relying on the light of the flames, it was enough to burn the mountains and boil the sea. The tyrannical flames spread out in the sky. When the people in the 9 cities below saw this scene, their eyes reflected the flames that filled the sky as if it was the end of the world. Was this the power of the Flame Supreme? Under the cover of the Flame Supreme's power, even Lu Baixin had a difficult look on his face. He had cultivated for more than 200 years and had never met such a powerful opponent. When the other party's flames spread out, he did not have any thoughts of resisting. The origin of the ancestor of fire. Lu Baixuan's eyes shone with a bright light. It must be the ancestor of all fires to bring such a feeling of despair. Not good, run. Chapter 11:14. If the other party had really inherited the power of the ancestor of all fires, then he would be really powerful. Against such an opponent, it could be said that there was no chance of victory at all. Therefore, Lu Baixuan's first reaction was to escape. With his ability, he believed that even if he was no match for the King of Fire, if he wanted to escape, not many people could stop him. Lu Baixuan's figure instantly moved backward. Buzz. A powerful force shrouded his body, and at the same time, there seemed to be countless vengeful spirits flying in his mind, constantly biting his body and tormenting his soul. Not good. The 8 burning soul pillars had already locked onto Lu Baixin. When the latter wanted to escape, Li Zongjio took the initiative to release the burning soul pillars. He sealed off the area. What? Lu Baixin was still able to resist. After all, as a supreme being expert, it was not so easy to be defeated so quickly. Li Zongjio, we have no enmity with you. If you let me leave now, the Haotian sect will let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, between you and me, the best result today is a life and death struggle. Lu Baixin stared fiercely at Li Zongjio. Life and death struggle? Then I'd like to see how a dead fish like you can break my net. Immediately, Li Zongjio's figure landed outside the array, and the black dragon hammer in his hand suddenly smashed downwards. Boom! A loud sound came, and immediately, the burning soul array in front of him was filled with the power of thunder and lightning. Suddenly, terrifying thunder and lightning rushed out. Boom! Lu Baixuan's defense immediately suffered a great impact. The flaming phoenix behind the King of Fire also turned into a ball of flame and rushed into the array. Boom! Liu Baixian, who had the cultivation of a second-grade sovereign, was directly forced out of his original spirit in this soul-burning array. Purple golden-striped tiger. When the purple golden-striped tiger appeared, it was still in extreme pain. He had never thought that he would be treated so horribly the moment he appeared. It was simply not a place for humans to stay. The purple gold-striped tiger primordial spirit was almost instantly reduced to ashes. After Liu Baixian blocked the first wave of attacks, he attacked the soul-burning array with all his might. He used his powerful origin energy to attack the array in a futile attempt to break the soul-burning array. It was obvious that this process was extremely difficult. When Lu Yuan, Yang Antai, and the others saw this, they immediately wanted to rush over and help the vice sect leader. If Liu Baixian was trapped in this array formation, then they wouldn't even have the chance to go back. Li Zongjio would easily take their heads. A bunch of trash, get lost. Li Zongjio glanced at these people and immediately waved his hand. A domineering force blasted towards them. Buddha's palm. The 4 primitive emperors who rushed over were actually sent flying by Li Zongjio's move. Puff! A mouthful of blood was spat out in midair. Vice sect leader. When Lu Wan saw this, he immediately shouted. Then, Lu Wan looked back and forth at the city below. Sure enough, he saw Wan Yulan in the city. You guys hold on, I'll go get the hostage. Lu Wan directly charged towards Wan Yulan. Although taking hostages was a despicable thing, and the Haotian sect, as a major sect, disdained to do so, but now was the time to save their lives. Who would care so much? Hence, Lu Wan directly rushed towards Wan Yulan. Li Zongjio was controlling the formation, so naturally, it was impossible for him to escape. He immediately frowned. If Wan Yulan was captured by the other party, it would be more or less troublesome. Hence, he had to stop the latter before that happened. Yang Antai and the other 2 figures rose into the air. At this moment, they did not dare to get too close to Li Zongjio because Li Zongjio's strength was really strong. Moreover, Li Zongjio seemed to be quite experienced in close combat. Hence, these people did not dare to get close to Li Zongjio at all. They attacked with Yuan Li from afar. Immediately, 3 waves of Yuan Li converged towards Li Zongjio across the air. Boom! A fire shield appeared around the Fire Wraith King. Immediately, it blocked the 3 people's Yuan Qi. At the same time, it protected herself and Li Zongjio. The 3 of them couldn't even break through the Fire Wraith King's defense with their Yuan Qi. Furthermore, they had reached a point where they couldn't back down. It wouldn't be easy for them to let go. Once the other party stopped, King of Fire's strength would definitely attack along with the Yuan Li retracted. Damn it! Liu Baixian never thought that he would encounter such a situation today. This group of people was simply too abominable. They attacked without saying anything. It would have been better if they had come to negotiate a little. However, Li Zongjio's character was just like that. Once he attacked, he would not give the other party a chance to back out. The only hope now was for Lu Wan to capture Wan Yulan. Only by capturing Wan Yulan would he be able to make the other party fear him and not dare to deal with him so arrogantly. Liu Baixian secretly swore in his heart. If he could escape today, he would definitely annihilate Li Zongjio's entire family in the future. When Lu Wan rushed towards Wan Yulan had already expected it. However, Lu Wan's speed was too fast, and he was already in front of her in almost an instant. Wan Yulan's mental energy could deal with a 6th or even a 7th stage primitive emperor expert. However, Lu Wan was already a 9th stage primitive emperor. How difficult would it be to deal with him? The gap between them could not be underestimated. Lu Wan struck out a palm, and at the same time, released a Yuan Li to resist Wan Yulan's mental energy. Lu Wan had stayed in the Black Canal Royal City for some time, and he had some understanding of Wan Yulan's strength. Sure enough, in the next moment, Wan Yulan's mental energy attacked with an earth-shattering force. Boom! Even though he was prepared, Lu Wan was still impacted by the force. His body shook slightly, and even the strength and speed of his palm were reduced. The front was blasted apart by the palm. However, Wan Yolan's body wasn't injured at all, because the palm had landed on empty space. Wan Yolan's figure had already dodged. However, Lu Wan did not have the slightest scruple or reservation at this moment. Taking down Wan Yulan was the most important thing. Rumble! Lu Wan struck out 72 palms consecutively. The 72 palms gathered together, and the power was extremely terrifying. The entire 9 cities shook, and the buildings within a radius of 500 meters were easily destroyed. Wan Yulan saw Lu Wan's palms strike unexpectedly hit a little girl in the ruins. Wan Yulan, who was originally prepared to dodge, did not hesitate to rush in front of the little girl. She held the little girl in her arms, and at the same time, she circulated her mental energy to form a defensive shield around her body. She blocked the attack in front of her. Wan Yulan was originally prepared to withstand this terrifying attack. Even Lu Wan's face revealed a smile. However, at this moment, several figures flew over and landed in front of Wan Yulan. Clang, clang, clang. The thick black iron shields were stacked together. Lu Wan's elemental energy blasted on the black iron shield array. The black iron shield array was not damaged at all. Just as Lu Wan's eyes were filled with shock, a stalwart figure rushed out from the ruins. The huge battle axe in his hand instantly chopped down on Lu Wan's head. When Lu Yuan saw this, he subconsciously raised his hand in an attempt to block the axe. Swish! Lu Wan's arm was directly chopped off. Ah! The elemental energy in Lu Wan's body vibrated, and suddenly, a terrifying force shook out from his body, causing the person to retreat a few steps. You dare to chop off my arm! Lu Wan looked at the chopped-off arm in front of him. He glared at the person in front of him. The 9 cities is not a place for you to behave atrociously. Zhou Bachuan swung the battle axe in his hand. Behind him, hundreds of experts rushed out and surrounded Lu Wan. A bunch of trash, how dare you block me? Lu Wan could see that the reason why Zhou Bachuan could chop off his arm was not because he was strong, but because the axe was too sharp. Today, even if I flatten the 9 cities, so what? Zhou Bachuan ordered, and the iron guards in front of him moved together. Zhou Bachuan also rushed forward. Just as these people moved, they suddenly felt a tyrannical force enter their bodies. Boom! Everyone's strength increased by more than 30%. Poor Lu Wan, under the siege of these people, was beheaded by Zhou Bachuan in just a few moves. He looked back at Wan Yulan. Just now, it was because of Wan Yulan's mental energy that their strength increased greatly. It turned out that this was Wan Yulan's powerful mental ability. I didn't expect General Zhou's strength to be so extraordinary. Wan Yulan put down the little girl in her arms. The little girl hurriedly ran into the distance to look for her parents. You flatter me. Chapter 11:15. The battle below had been decided. Immediately, Yang Antai and the others glanced at them hesitantly. At the same time, they glanced at Lu Baixin, who was trapped in the soul-burning array. Obviously, the 3 of them were already thinking of retreating. Deputy sect leader, you must hold on. Let's go back and report to the sect leader. We'll bring people to help. Yang Antai immediately shouted. Then, the 3 of them bravely cut their losses and directly withdrew from the power of the King of Fire's fire shield even though they were seriously injured. Lu Baixin glanced at the direction where Yang Antai and the others had escaped. In his eyes, he even had the thought of eating Yang Antai and the others alive. He didn't expect these people to be so unreliable. At such a critical moment, they left him to die. However, Lu Baixin didn't say anything. After all, the current situation was extremely dangerous. If they stayed, they would only die. It was better to escape. But who would want to die if they could live? Li Zhongjio naturally saw Lu Baixuan's unhappiness. Now, Lu Baixin was almost dying in Li Zhongjio's soul-burning array. It was mainly the power of the King of Fire's ancestor of fire that burned Lu Baixin badly. Under the flames, he was burning in extreme pain. Withdraw the power. Li Zhongjio said to the King of Fire. At this moment, Lu Baixin was about to reach the end of his life. At most, in half an hour, he would be burned to ashes by the joint power of the 2. Although the King of Fire didn't know what Li Zhongjio meant, Since he said so, he withdrew the flames in his hand. Lu Baixian also felt the pressure on his body disappear. He was also surprised. Then, he looked at Li Zongjio with an incredulous look. After the King of Fire withdrew the power, Li Zongjio directly raised his hand and withdrew the 8 burning soul pillars. Although Li Zongjio had withdrawn all his moves at this moment, Lu Baixian simply couldn't understand what this kid was trying to do. "What do you mean? Are you trying to humiliate me?" Lu Baixian said proudly. There was a feeling that he would rather die than live in dishonor. A warrior would rather die than be humiliated. What did this guy mean? Nothing. There's no challenge in killing an old man like you. I'll let you go this time. However, if your Supreme Sky sect doesn't repent, then just wait for your sect to be destroyed, Li Zongjio said as he waved his hand. You can go. Lu Baixian didn't agree at once. Although he saved his life, Li Zongjio's words were clearly asking him to betray his sect. A mere Li Zongjio actually wanted him, Lu Baixian, to be a deserter. Even if he died in battle with dignity, he absolutely couldn't go back with such humiliation. However, only by living could he wash away the humiliation, right? Li Zongjio, I'll remember you. The Haotian sect will also remember you. Lu Baixian stared at Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio could see Lu Baixian in front of him even with his toes. Lu Baixian was a vengeful person, but he was better at bullying the weak and fearing the strong. If he let Lu Baixian go, he would certainly not let Yang Antai and the others who just escaped. As for Li Zongjio, if he didn't find a strong enough helper and have enough confidence to kill Li Zongjio, he would certainly not turn back easily. Because this guy was very afraid of death. But he couldn't leave an image of a coward in front of so many people. So he just stubbornly said a few words, and in the end, didn't he run away directly? You're letting him go just like that? King of Fire looked at Li Zongjio. This was not like Li Zongjio's character. But Li Zongjio often did such things. Didn't Tian Fei of the Black Sky sect also have his origin pearl destroyed, and then he was personally saved by Li Zongjio and used to deal with the Black Sky sect? He was really capable of doing all kinds of strange things. I just collected some interest. It doesn't matter if I kill him or not. Li Zongjio said. Sometimes, killing people was just a temporary pleasure, and it couldn't relieve one's boredom in the long run. Li Zongjio had reached the level where it didn't matter if he killed or not. As long as it was fun, it was enough to play for a long time. As for the interest that Li Zongjio mentioned, he was tossing the storage ring in his hand. When he took back the soul-burning formation just now, he also took this old thing's storage ring. With this old thing's temperament, there might be something good in the storage ring. You're very naughty. King of Fire didn't know how to evaluate Li Zongjio. But from King of Fire's point of view, it was okay to not kill. If the people of the Haotian sect knew how to restrain themselves, then it would be fine. If they didn't, then they could only wait to be destroyed. If King of Fire's temper became angry, then no one could stop him. The people of the 9 cities below looked up at the person in the sky. Their eyes widened, and their mouths were wide open. What did they just see? When the young man rushed into the sky, he directly smashed the powerful Haotian warship. Could it be that the young man's body was stronger than the warship? After that, without saying anything, an earth-shattering battle directly broke out. This battle was quite fierce. It could be said that there was no prelude at all. It was as if they had met to avenge their father's death, and an extremely huge battle directly began. There were 4 people on the other side, and there were only 2 people on the other side. The last 2 people were suppressing the 4 people. 3 of them actually ran away when they saw that the situation was not good. Anyone could imagine that when the last person caught up with the first 3 people, it would be a fierce battle. At this moment, everyone could be said to have witnessed the strength of Evil Lord and Supreme Flame. Their fame immediately spread in the city. Li Zongjio and Supreme Flame landed. They first went to check on Wan Yolan's situation. After all, she was targeted by Lu Wan just now. It was also because of Zhou Bachuan that she was able to escape. You're Zhou Bachuan. Li Zongjio glanced at the mighty and majestic man. The axe in Zhou Bachuan's hand was somewhat like an ancient demonic weapon. I am. Zhou Bachuan replied. Your axe is not bad, But if you want to control him, you need to deepen your cultivation and temperament. Here's a bottle of pills. Give it to your subordinates. If the demon suppression palace opens, you can bring your men and enter with us. Li Zongjio was someone who would repay kindness. Saving Wan Yulan was helping Li Zongjio's friend. Zhou Bachuan originally wanted to show that this was a simple matter, and that evil lord did not need to be so polite. However, when he held the bottle in his hand, he already felt that something was wrong. What? Using his mental power to scan it, Zhou Bachuan was shocked by evil lord's generosity. In the porcelain bottle that Li Zongjio gave him, there were actually close to 200 fifth-grade pills. Even if he gave one to each of his subordinates, there would still be a lot. Zhou Bachuan even thought that evil lord might have taken the wrong bottle. To Zhou Bachuan, this was simply a great bargain. Even in the Black Canal Imperial City, it was not easy to obtain fifth-grade pills. Moreover, in the 9 cities, it was almost impossible to obtain so many pills. Who knew how long it would take to accumulate them? Thank you, Lord Evil Lord, for your reward. What else could Zhou Bachuan say? With such a great benefit, even if he had to be thick-skinned, he had to keep the pills. Just the contents of this small bottle were enough to raise the strength of the entire team behind Zhou Bachuan by a level. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Now, Zhou Bachuan had already confirmed that evil Lord Li Zongjio was a real big shot. A casual reward from him would be a reward that could not be exchanged for a lifetime of hard work. He was a person who could change the fate of others with a raise of his hand. Are you okay? Li Zongjio looked at Wan Yulan. Although Wan Yulan's face was a little pale, it was obvious that the level of battle just now was not so easy for Wan Yulan to withstand. After all, there was such a big gap between them. Being able to withstand it was already very good. I'm fine. Wan Yulan shook her head and took a pill. Rumble. Li Zongjio and the others suddenly frowned. In the next second, the land of the 9 cities once again shook like the mountains were shaking. It was as if the earth was about to split open. At the same time, somewhere in the city, there was a sudden burst of tyrannical power that almost rushed into the sky. It rushed towards the sky. It seems that the demon suppression palace is about to appear. Follow me. Immediately, everyone followed Li Zongjio and rushed towards the place where the aura fluctuations erupted in the city. Chapter 11:16. Lu Baixian, who had managed to escape with his life after much difficulty. After experiencing Li Zongjio's humiliation of sparing his life, Lu Baixian only felt that the strength he had cultivated for 200 years had all been wasted on a dog. Most importantly, he naturally needed to find someone to vent his anger. Yang Antai and the others, who had escaped for some distance, finally breathed a sigh of relief. They felt that the fierce battle was still going on behind them, which made them feel a lingering fear. Fortunately, we escaped quickly. I didn't expect this evil lord to be so powerful. It's a pity that the deputy sect leader sacrificed himself heroically. We have to report this to the sect leader and let him avenge the deputy sect leader. Yang Antai said with righteous indignation. The 2 people in front of him had lower positions than him, so naturally, they didn't dare to disobey Yang Antai. We'll follow Hall leader Yang's lead. Hi Yang Antai, you're really considerate. You even want to avenge me. Just as the 3 of them were colluding to completely blame Li Zongjio for the death of the deputy sect leader, a cold voice rang out. Then, a powerful aura instantly enveloped the 3 of them. When they heard this voice, Yang Antai and the others felt their hearts beating violently. Oh no, how is this possible? When Yang Antai and the others saw Lu Baixian in front of them, their expressions could be said to be stunned. Deputy sect leader? Why am I still alive? Lu Baixian sneered. At this moment he could finally vent his anger. The anger and resentment that had accumulated over such a long period of time could finally be recovered from these 3 people. You must be very sad that I'm still alive. Next, you have to hold on well, because I'll be very cruel. Then, Lu Baixian also showed his powerful strength. After torturing the 3 people in front of him until half of their bodies were paralyzed, No matter how they begged for mercy, it was useless. In the end, he directly chopped down with his palm and ended their lives. The strong regarded the weak as ants. Not to mention a top expert like Liu Baixian who had cultivated for so many years. He no longer cared about the lives of others. He had no respect for life. Everyone in the world could die, but he couldn't. After killing the 3 people to vent his anger, Liu Baixian didn't directly return to the sect. Li Zongjiu, you've only been cultivating for a few years. Do you think that you can fight me just because you have a few divine weapons? I'll let you know that the foundation of an expert over hundreds of years isn't just his own cultivation. There's a cold light in his eyes. And top-level connections. Immediately, Liu Baixian also flew out and headed into the distance. In the land of the 9 cities, 2 black shadows appeared in the nothingness in the sky. They had been watching the scene from the beginning. However, they didn't dare to reveal their auras. There were 3 Supreme Being experts at the scene just now. If they leaked even a little bit of their auras, they would be discovered by the other party. Therefore, they were completely hidden. After Li Zongjiu finished the battle, the city of the 9 cities exploded. Moreover, a wave of energy had already erupted within the city. It was the movement within the demon suppressing palace. After that, Li Zongjiu and the others activated the defensive array again, covering the entire 9 cities. They also covered up the aura of the 9 cities. This guy is really despicable. He wants to take all the benefits for himself. He's really capable. No wonder he can lead people to destroy the deployment of Black Canal Basilica. 2 black-clothed men appeared. The 2 newcomers were none other than the Great Protector of Haiku Sacred Hall and the Vice Hall Master of Haiku Sacred Hall who were cultivating on Haiku Sacred Mountain. The Demon Suppression Palace has appeared. We need to inform the Palace Master as soon as possible. The Great Guardian of Black Canal Basilica, Zhu Sha. He said. There's no need to report this matter to the Palace Master. Although Li Zongjiu's strength is not weak, he relies more on his array magic treasure. I have something in my hand that can make his array magic treasure lose its effect for an hour. An hour is enough for us to kill them. The Deputy Palace Master of Black Canal Basilica, Soul Destroyer Supreme, said. 2 Supreme Being experts. Could it be that they couldn't even deal with the 2 children in front of them? Although the 2 children were extremely powerful, and one of them had the power of the fire ancestor, so they couldn't be underestimated, they didn't need to pay too much attention to them. Otherwise, they would hesitate for a long time when encountering a child. How could such courage be worthy of their lifetime's cultivation? They aren't children anymore. They know how to report everything to their superiors. You have to see what's going on in this matter. If they were to obtain any benefits in the Demon Suppression Palace, it would definitely go into their own pockets first. Could it go into someone else's pocket? The Great Guardian, Zhu Sha, thought for a while and nodded firmly. Indeed, there were so many treasures in here that it seemed a little unbearable. But we still need to do some backup work. Then, Zhu Sha condensed a dark yuan bird with his yuan force. 3 days later, we'll return to the sacred mountain and report the situation here. 3 days was enough for them to obtain a lot of treasures in the Demon Suppression Palace and kill Li Zongjiu at the same time. They could seize the powerful formation treasure in his hands. They could even directly rob him of the fire ancestor's power. Let's go. Immediately, the 2 of them went into the 9 cities. However, they didn't break into the formation directly. If they did, Li Zongjiu and the others would notice them in advance. Only by quietly approaching and launching a sneak attack would they have a higher chance of winning. When the 2 landed, they could clearly see the 9 cities from a distance of less than 500 meters. However, if they were to go further than 500 meters, there would be a mountain range, and they wouldn't be able to see any cities or buildings. What a strange formation. It actually has such a concealing effect? The 2 of them could be considered to have roamed the continent for many years. However, this was the first time they saw a formation with such a miraculous effect. When people walked in, they could clearly see the existence of the city. However, if you were far away, you wouldn't be able to see it at all. At this moment, Li Yun, who was repairing the Blackwater dry well, had a string of bells on her wrist shake by itself. Immediately, Li Yun's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. However, Li Yun's eyes flashed with a trace of craftiness. Since that's the case, let this lady play with you first. If the two of them forced their way into the formation, with the strength of the maze formation, it naturally wouldn't be able to withstand a few attacks. However, if the two of them wanted to rely on their own wisdom to break through the formation, it would be difficult for them to walk out of the maze formation without any cultivation in formations. Immediately, Li Yun also urged the formation to buy some time for Li Zongjio and the others. At this moment, Li Zongjio and the others had arrived at the opening of the Demon Suppression Palace. The location was the former territory of the War City. The ground in front of them was constantly collapsing, and layers of stairs appeared. The dark entrance was like the entrance of a monster that swallowed everything. Even light couldn't enter. Before they even got close, they already felt a sense of danger. Have people seal off the surroundings. No one is allowed to come close. Wan Yulan ordered. The people in charge of these things were naturally handed over to Huang Weihu and the others. Yes. None of these people dared to be disobedient. After all, Li Zongjio and the others had shown their strength and beaten the people of the Haotian sect to such a state. Wasn't their strength obvious? Would they only wake up when their fists hit them? Let's go, Li Zongjio said. As for Li Yun, entering the Demon Suppression Palace was also a dangerous thing. Li Zongjio had previously instructed Li Yun to wait outside. It would be best if she could hide. After all, the land of the 9 cities wasn't a safe place. Immediately, Li Zongjio, the King of Fire, Wan Yulan, and Zhou Bachuan walked down the stairs in front of them. The stairs were at least 5 feet wide, enough for dozens of people to walk side by side. Zhou Bachuan also entered with 6 of his subordinates. The rest were all outside to seal off the entrance. In his previous life, Li Zongjio had never been to the Demon Suppression Palace, so he wasn't clear about the routes inside. However, he knew that there were many treasures in the Demon Suppression Palace. Once these treasures were moved, the suppressed demons below would awaken. If you forcibly took away a treasure and didn't kill the demon, then when the demon revived, it would definitely release the seals on the other demons. In his previous life, some people were too greedy and took away the demon suppression ruler. As a result, countless demons were released, which eventually led to the outbreak of a great disaster. Chapter 11:17. Li Zongjio and the others walked down the stairs. They didn't know how long they had been walking down, but it felt like they were continuously walking down. Finally, when they landed on the ground, there was an endless plain in front of them. Did we just pass through the barrier? Wan Yulan looked at the scene in front of her and immediately said in surprise. The magnificent scene in front of them was obviously very different from the 9 cities. The world in front of him was incomparably gloomy, and the ground under his feet was blood red. There was always some extremely dim glowing fog lingering around him. If it wasn't for this glowing fog, the entire underground world would probably be pitch black. The stairs disappeared. Someone discovered that the stairs they had just walked down had disappeared. Li Zongjio didn't panic. No need to make a fuss. Let's continue forward. Zhou Bachuan glanced at the surrounding environment and took out a map in his hand. Lord Evil Lord, we still have another mission to carry out. Please leave the team. Li Zongjio glanced at Zhou Bachuan. The latter actually dared to have the map of the demon suppression land. Of course, Li Zongjio naturally wouldn't ask Zhou Bachuan for it. That would be too low level of behavior. You guys be careful. Li Zongjio waved and said. Zhou Bachuan nodded and then led the others in another direction. Soon, their figures disappeared into the darkness. I can sense an energy fluctuation in front of us. It should be the main hall. Wan Yulan pointed ahead and said, Let's go. Li Zongjio led the way in front. They passed by some places and saw some tombs. There were tombstones on these tombs, but there were no words on the tombstones. What's under these tombstones? Wan Yulan couldn't help but ask. In fact, Wan Yulan didn't know much about the Demon Suppression Palace. However, he could feel that there was something under these tombs. These tombstones are used to suppress ancient devils. Devils are difficult to kill, so they can only be suppressed. Each tombstone contains the life energy of an ancient cultivator, and even some magical treasures used to suppress them. Li Zongjio explained. If we take this treasure away, wouldn't the demon clan below be able to come back to life? Wan Yulan naturally knew how terrifying the demon clan was. Although most of the demon clan had disappeared, there were still quite a number of demonic beasts around. These demonic beasts fed on meta beasts. They were powerful, ferocious, and cunning. Usually, a single demonic beast could bring disaster to a large area of meta beasts. However, these demonic beasts didn't dare to be too arrogant. After all, this world still belonged to the meta beasts. Now, the demonic beasts were just some abandoned soldiers. It was fine if they ate ordinary meta beasts, but if they provoked meta beasts with the same bloodline, they could only wait for death. Naturally, there would be top-notch experts among the meta beasts. They would be able to cripple you in a matter of minutes. Therefore, given the current living environment, most of these demonic beasts had to tuck their tails between their legs. Moreover, demonic beasts didn't have the ability to reproduce. There would be one less demonic beast that died. So many demons. In the beginning, they only saw a dozen tombs. However, after walking for a while, the surrounding glowing mist rose into the air like thin, glowing clouds hanging in the sky. It immediately lit up the environment in front of them. As far as the eye could see, there were at least tens of thousands of tombs. They were arranged in a disorderly manner in front of them, stretching endlessly. 808,000 of them. The King of Fire suddenly said faintly. Li Zongjio glanced at the King of Fire. Even he didn't know how many ancient devils there were. The King of Fire didn't know, but he thought that the King of Fire's origin wasn't simple. He might even be related to the ancient demon gods. I can feel my origin energy. The center of the Fire Wraith King's eyebrows gradually lit up with a trace of light. Boom! The hundreds of tombs in front of them suddenly exploded with a loud boom. Countless dust flew, and the tombstones were easily crushed. Then, a terrifying demonic beast seeped out of the tombs. Like hundreds of giant moths with their wings open, they rushed towards the three of them. It exploded by itself. You're quite capable. Seeing this, Li Zongjio directly held the black dragon hammer and swung it forward. At the same time, the terrifying thunderbolt force immediately surged forward. Boom! The thunderbolt force burst out. Some of the demonic beasts crawling out of the tombs were blasted away. However, one of the shorter demonic beasts used a mirror to transfer the thunderbolt force released by Li Zongjio to the tombstone next to it. Boom, 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 boom. 5 consecutive explosions sounded, and 5 more tombstones were directly smashed. Another 5 demonic beasts were completely released. They've already broken the seal a long time ago, and they've been ambushing us. Wan Yulan seemed to have noticed something. These demonic beasts were not much worse than the human race. In fact, they were even more cunning and treacherous. These demonic beasts had no way to break the seal, so they could only rely on Li Zongjio's strength. Impressive. They even know how to use me. Li Zongjio was also angered by these low-level demonic beasts. These low-level demonic beasts dared to play tricks in front of Li Zongjio. These demonic beasts in front of them had no intention of staying idle. They directly rushed towards Li Zongjio and the other two. Boom! Tens of thousands of years of seal did not reduce the ferocity of these demonic beasts. Most of them rushed towards Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio also very straightforwardly used the hammer in his hand to send the demonic beasts that rushed towards him flying. Some of the demonic beasts struggled to get up, but they realized that Li Zongjio had already broken all the bones in their bodies. With your standards, you are not enough to jump around in front of me. Wan Yulan and King of Fire also easily took down these demonic beasts in front of them. After seeing Li Zongjio break the bones of these demonic beasts were naturally unable to move. The two of them followed suit. Boom, boom. The 20 demonic beasts in front of them were only equivalent to the strength of a Yuan monarch. The only powerful one was the one that looked a little shifty-eyed. Its head was like a sharpened carrot, and its body was extremely thin and small. It exuded a dangerous aura. At this moment, it saw that the situation was not good and actually turned to flee deeper into the forest. Whoosh! Trying to run? Li Zongjio smiled disdainfully, then threw the black dragon hammer in his hand forward. With a loud bang, this ancient demon was directly smashed to the ground. In an instant, it rolled a large circle. This mouthful of blood almost caused its internal organs to be spat out. The injury was really tragic. King of Fire's fingers flicked. A few wisps of flame flew out and instantly hit these demonic beasts. Immediately, the ancient demons began to cry out in pain and terror. After that, the flames started to burn on the bodies of these devils until they were burned into a pile of ashes, turning into wisps of black gas. These wisps of black gas condensed together and finally turned into a black bead. King of Fire reached out and sucked this black pearl over, directly grabbing it in his hand. One Yulan, who was watching from the side, was stunned. These demonic beasts' physiques were extremely special. They could not be killed by swords and could not be burned by fire. Even if they were killed on the spot, it would not take long for them to be resurrected. Their self-healing ability was extremely strong. But today, King of Fire's flames could easily burn these demonic beasts to ashes. This was enough to show the King of Fire's strength. The realm of his flames was very high. Your flames can actually directly burn the demonic beasts. Amazing! Li Zongjio wanted to kill these demonic beasts in his previous life, and the only way was to refine their power. In Li Zongjio's previous life, he had indeed absorbed a lot of people's power. However, most of the time, he had absorbed the power of the devil race. That was how he was able to progress so quickly. Moreover, he had extraordinary talent. That was why he had tenaciously survived and was not assimilated by the devil race. However, King of Fire's move just now could be said to have refined these ancient demons into extremely pure energy. This thing is called a demonic crystal. Its characteristic is that it has no attributes. It can be used to cultivate with any attribute of primordial stones. It is a good thing, but also a great supplement for the demonic beasts. Li Zongjio said. King of Fire put it away with a flip of his hand. Chapter 11:18. The mat-headed demon was lying on the ground in front of them. It was pressed down by Li Zongjio's hammer and couldn't move for a long time. When it saw Li Zongjio and the others walking towards it, it hardened its heart and cut off its chest. After that, the mat-headed demon kept digging the ground with its two hands. Boom! The King of Fire directly set the mat-headed demon in front of them on fire. It didn't crawl far before it was burned to ashes. These demons that can crawl out by themselves must have been sealed with the blood essence of those ancient experts. Therefore, as time passed, the power of the seal weakened. Li Zongjio said, "Let's keep going." Immediately, Li Zongjio and the other two continued to move forward. Although Li Zongjio didn't know the exact location of the unparalleled sword, judging from the power of the unparalleled sword, the strength of the demons suppressed under the unparalleled sword was definitely not simple, just as Li Zongjio and the others were exploring. On the other side, Zhou Bachuan led his subordinates and followed the guidance of the map. They came to a tombstone that was nearly 2 meters high. The map in Zhou Bachuan's hand was made of a very special material. It looked like a piece of white paper from the outside, but once inside the demon suppression palace, it would appear. It's here. The corpse of the old master is buried here. Zhou Bachuan's eyes revealed a trace of excitement. After waiting bitterly for several decades, he had finally found it. It's been nearly 10,000 years. When we woke up from the ice, the world has completely changed. Master, today Bachuan will take you home. Zhou Bachuan's astonishing words were enough to shock anyone. The owner of this tomb was at least a figure from 10,000 years ago. How could it have anything to do with Zhou Bachuan and the others? But now it seemed that Zhou Bachuan and the others were not people of this era. There were all kinds of situations in the battles between the ancient times and the demons, just like Zhou Bachuan and his group. In fact, these people were part of an army that followed a powerhouse to suppress the devil race in ancient times. However, the devil race that they fought that day was proficient in the power of ice. It directly froze Zhou Bachuan's troops. Under the ice, the master of Zhou Bachuan and the others had used his own blood essence to seal the ice demon. He had also used the last of his strength to inject Yuan Qi into the glacier, allowing Zhou Bachuan and the others to still be alive after being frozen for nearly 10,000 years. They could be reborn. At the same time, he also left behind his last wish. If there was a chance, he wanted to return to his hometown with glory and scatter his ashes on the Black River. In ancient times, the division of territories between the dynasties had yet to take shape. However, Master lived near the Black River basin. The specific location was no longer easy to find, but even though the Black River had changed, it was still there. After Zhou Bachuan and the others woke up, it could be said that they had been searching for more than 10 years. In the end, they found the location of the Demon Immortal Palace based on the things left behind by Master on this map. After Li Zongjiu came down, Zhou Bachuan was extremely excited. "General, should we start now?" "Open the tomb." Zhou Bachuan's voice was as firm as steel. "Welcome, Master." The battle axe in his hand gathered a terrifying power and fiercely chopped down in front of him. Boom! The tombstone shattered, and the tomb in front was also directly split into two halves. Just as it was split into two halves, an extremely cold chill permeated the air. Formation. Master used his last bit of blood essence to seal the ice demon and wanted to take away Master's corpse. They thought that they would have to face the ice demon's attack, so they were prepared. Even if it was an extremely tragic battle, they had to fulfill Master's last wish. A cold current suddenly rushed out of the tomb, and directly sent the 5 soldiers beside Zhou Bachuan flying. They were sent flying for nearly 50 meters. Fortunately, the cold current was blocked by the shield in their hands. Their bodies rolled, and the sharp long knife at their waist shone in their hands. Zhou Bachuan swung the battle axe in his hand, cutting the cold current around him. At the same time, he slashed at the ice demon that had just escaped. The giant axe was swung wildly. The ice demon that had just recovered had not yet figured out the situation. It only sensed danger approaching and used the power of ice to protect its body. The axe in his hand suddenly emitted a terrifying golden light. Clang! The axe shattered the ice around the ice demon's body that was protecting it, and finally, the axe fell heavily on the ice demon's head. However, the axe was only half embedded. A trace of blood seemed to be squeezed out of the blood vessels. The ice demon directly slammed its palm on Zhou Bachuan's body and sent Zhou Bachuan flying. Even the axe was sent flying, along with a large piece of bone. Bang! His body heavily smashed onto the ground. The ice demon casually waved its hand, and several ice arrows flew towards Zhou Bachuan. Immediately, 5 shields quickly superimposed in front of Zhou Bachuan. Bang! 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 The 5 people protected Zhou Bachuan with all their might. Just as the ice demon was about to kill the 6 people, a terrifying sword energy suddenly flew out from the broken tombstone. It instantly pierced through half of the ice demon's body. It directly shattered half of the ice demon's body. Damn it! The ice demon's eyes were filled with anger. It turned around and glanced at the tomb, then suddenly rushed forward. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the ice demon's figure disappeared before their eyes. Only Zhou Bachuan and the others were left behind, along with the broken tombstone. Master has made his move. When Zhou Bachuan and the others saw the scene just now, they felt proud of their master. Even if it had been 10,000 years, the residual power could still easily injure the ice demon. The ice demon's figure disappeared. Zhou Bachuan and the others would definitely not be able to chase after it. In the end, they could only find their master's corpse first. Let's take our master's corpse first. Zhou Bachuan and the others entered the tomb. Before this, there was an extremely terrifying power under the tomb, which was specially used to seal the demons. If no one opened it from the outside, these demons would not be able to escape. However, now that they had released the ice demon, Zhou Bachuan and the others did not regret it. After burying their master, they would definitely hunt down this ice demon with all their strength. In front of a coffin, Zhou Bachuan and the others directly knelt down with tears in their eyes. "Master, Bachuan is late. Zhou Bachuan and the others kowtowed a few times. If their master hadn't risked his life to save them, they wouldn't have been able to survive until now. Now that they had awakened in this era, they naturally had their own missions. They needed to complete these missions. They put the coffin in front of them into an empty storage ring. After you go out, gather everyone to guard our master's corpse. You must not let anyone come close. Also, you must not let anyone know. Zhou Bachuan said, "General? I will go and inform Evil Lord and the others. This ice demon has been trapped for 10,000 years, but its strength is still so strong. We must not lower our guard. Lord Evil Dominator is our benefactor, we can't abandon them." Zhou Bachuan said, "Let us follow you, General. Protecting our master is the most important thing. Go, this is an order." After a lot of twists and turns, he was able to find his master's corpse at the last moment. Now, he had to go and complete other things. Then, Zhou Bachuan got a few soldiers to return with the map. With the map in hand, it was as good as having a pass. Hence, he could come and go as he pleased. However, there was only one map. If Zhou Bachuan wanted to leave, he had to catch up with Li Zongjio and the others. Carrying the battle axe in his hand, Zhou Bachuan had fulfilled one of his greatest wishes on this trip. Since that was the case, there was nothing to be concerned about. Outside the 9 cities. "No, we've been fooled." Soul Destroyer Supreme suddenly stopped. The city was clearly in front of them, but they had been wandering around here for at least 4 hours. How could such a thing happen? How could 2 Supreme experts be fooled? Soul Destroyer Supreme immediately came to his senses and was extremely angry. Zhu Sha also came to her senses. Soul Destroyer Supreme immediately blasted a palm forward. The direction of the attack was the land of the 9 cities. Bang, bang. The land of the 9 cities was destroyed by the palm. It's fake. Not only were the 2 Supreme Being level powerhouses walking in circles, they were also walking in a fake direction. Chapter 11:19. Both Supreme Soul Slayer and Zhu Sha felt a burning pain on their faces. If there was only one person here, it would have been fine. But now, there was another person here, which gave them a lot of pressure. I didn't expect that damned Li Zongjio to be so despicable and shameless. I don't know where he got this crooked method from. Let's kill that kid as soon as possible. The 2 of them began to curse Li Zongjio, who had no backbone. He was using such a despicable method to stall for time. In the sky, beside Lu Baixian, there were 2 white-haired old men. Their strength was at the Supreme Being realm. "I say, old Lu, who the hell are you? Why are you so angry that you actually came all the way here to invite us out?" The 2 old men were a man and a woman. They were dressed like a couple, but they seemed to have retired for a long time. They didn't expect that their old friend would suddenly appear from the sky and say that he was going to kill someone. Moreover, he didn't allow them to ask, saying that he didn't have time to explain. "It's a kid called Li Zongjio. Today, no matter what, all of you must avenge me." Hearing Lu Baishuan's murderous tone, the 2 old men looked at each other. At this moment, a huge fluctuation came from below. The 3 of them couldn't help but look down. "It's that kid? Speaking of which, this fluctuation is not weak at all." The 2 old men that Lu Baixian brought were called Dust Dwelling and Chenmian. Dust Dwelling stared down and descended without hesitation. A powerful aura immediately shrouded the area below. Both Supreme Soul Slayer and Zhu Sha, who had just broken through the mystifying array, were immediately attracted by Dust Dwelling's aura. Damn it, do they think that there's no one in Black Canal Basilica? How dare they provoke us again and again? Supreme Soul Slayer was so angry that his chest felt suffocated. He had never thought that such a thing would happen. He had been trapped in the maze formation for such a long time. In front of the enemy, he would have been like an idiot, walking in circles in the same place. And now, the other party had attacked again. The main thing was that the person who was attacking now was unknown which side he was on. Do you think that you can crush the entire continent just because you're a Jizuan realm? I, Mia Hun, will teach you a lesson today. The person who came directly used his own aura to announce his position as the overlord, making it clear that he was provoking them. Naturally, Sovereign Soul Slayer was extremely displeased. He rose into the air with a terrifying black airflow. He charged towards the dust dwelling in the sky. Boom! The huge black torrent immediately rushed in front of the dust dwelling like a 1,000-meter waterfall. You're courting death. The dust dwelling faced the attack with a palm strike, suppressing it with his own vigorous yuan force. He wanted to defeat the opponent's power, but at the same time, he knew that the opponent's strength should not be underestimated. After reserving some of his strength for defense, the two ferocious forces instantly collided. Suddenly, there was a loud explosion. Boom! The ground under Sovereign Soul Slayer's feet suddenly shattered, spreading for hundreds of meters. Deputy Palace Master? Zhu Sha stepped forward, wanting to see how Sovereign Soul Slayer was doing. After all, the Deputy Palace Master did not seem to have gained much from the collision of forces. Kill this man. Supreme Soul Slayer only had these 4 short words. Originally, he had been cultivating on the sacred mountain, living a peaceful life. At the same time, he had been enjoying the supreme privileges. However, as soon as he left the mountain, he suffered a series of setbacks. Could it be that he, the Soul Destroyer Supreme, was no longer suitable for the rules of this world? Impossible. Rules? What are rules? Strength is the rule. Since you dare to provoke me, I'll kill you first, then I'll kill that Li Zongjio. Maybe the person in front of them was the one sent by Li Zongjio to delay them. Without saying a word, the two supreme beings unleashed a terrifying power at the same time. Immediately, a vortex was formed on the ground. Under the vortex, the dust abode in the sky was immediately trapped by the power of the two supreme beings below. An invisible force imprisoned the latter. It was impossible for him to break free. However, Dust House, who was trapped, did not panic. In fact, he did not even struggle. Instead, he simply maintained his original state. This leisurely attitude of his surprised the two men below. Not good. Suddenly, Sovereign Soul Slayer exclaimed. 2 against 1. Are you competing in numbers? 2 more figures descended from the sky. What followed was a storm-like bombardment. Lu Baixian and Chen Mian kept releasing their origin energy, blasting it toward the two supremes on the ground. When one's cultivation reached this level, there were very few weapons that could withstand their power. Because the terrifying origin energy in their bodies was an extremely terrifying force. Immediately, this explosive force was released. Boom, boom, boom. The ground beneath Sovereign Soul Slayer and Chen Mian's feet was blown up. Almost the entire mountain range was shattered, and the old land of the 9 cities, which was not far away, also collapsed with a loud bang at this moment. The battle here directly affected the old land of 9 cities, which was 1,000 meters away. Li Yun saw that the old land of 9 cities had been destroyed beyond recognition. The mountain city seemed to be swallowed by the mountain and kept collapsing. Immediately, Li Yun quietly left from the other side of the mountain city. After all, Li Zongjio had instructed her to do so. In such a dangerous environment, protecting one's own safety was the most important thing. Even now, Li Yun didn't know where the battle was going. Why did it suddenly start? Moreover, there were so many experts involved. Even Li Yun didn't know where so many experts came from. Originally, the mystifying array could only trap the two for a short while. Unexpectedly, the two of them started to wander around in the mystifying array as if they were taking a stroll. When the mystifying array was broken, Li Yun was already prepared to escape. Now, such a chaotic battle had occurred. Li Yun couldn't care less. Her life was more important. Li Yen descended freely from the top of a mountain. Her body was graceful, and she flew down the mountain at high speed. Her figure completely disappeared from the old land of 9 cities. As for what would become of the old land of 9 cities, Li Yun couldn't control it. Inside the secret realm of the Demon Suppression Palace. In front of Li Zongjio's group of 3, a great hall so tall that it reached the sky appeared. In front of the hall, there were 4 tombstones that were more than 50 meters tall. In front of the tower in front of them, Li Zongjio saw the top of the tower at a glance. It was filled with divine light. Demon Suppression Ruler. Chapter 1120. The Supreme Treasure of the Demon Suppressing Palace. The Demon Suppressing Ruler. In his previous life, someone had obtained the Demon Suppressing Ruler and killed many people. Later, the Demon Suppressing Ruler disappeared without a trace. Li Zongjio did not know what happened. After all, he was not strong enough at that time. However, the Demon Suppressing Ruler was very famous. It was because of the disappearance of the Demon Suppressing Ruler that the demon race surged. Without the deterrence of a powerful weapon, the demon race was in chaos and the flames of war spread. Palace Guardian Gate? Li Zongjio and the others did not get carried away by the appearance of the treasure. Although Wan Yulan knew that the treasure was in front of her, Wan Yulan was not moved. There must be a reason why these things were here. If they were taken away, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, Wan Yulan also knew that if Li Zongjio did not take it away, others would take it away. Rather than falling into the hands of others, it was better to give it to Li Zongjio. In front of the main hall, there were 2 iron cavalry statues. With their eyesight, they could see that there was a formation under the iron cavalry statues. If they were too close, they would be attacked by the Palace Guardian Gate. In order to get the Demon Suppressing Ruler, they must first deal with the attacks of the 2 Palace Guardian Gate. I'll block the 2 Palace Guardians. You go get the treasure. King of Fire pinched a flame between his fingers. As the flame danced, it released a terrifying threat. Okay. Li Zongjio nodded. Wait a minute. Look under your feet. Wan Yulan suddenly said. Only then did everyone lower their heads to take a look. Unknowingly, they had already stepped into an array. Oh no, everyone be careful. Li Zongjio immediately shouted. Then, in front of each other, their figures disappeared in an instant. Buzz. There was only one person left. In Li Zongjio's eyes, he could no longer see Wan Yulan and the Fire Wraith King's silhouettes. Although Li Zongjio released his power in time and blasted it forward, he was still unable to see them. However, since the formation had been activated, it was impossible to find the Fire Wraith King and the others. Unless they could break out of the formation. Rumble. Continuous vibrations came. Li Zongjio immediately looked at the 4 tombstones around them. 4 huge phantoms gradually emerged. What a mysterious formation. It's actually using the power of the demon race to protect the formation. When Li Zongjio saw this, he was slightly surprised by the wisdom of these ancient people. These people had indeed mastered all kinds of cultivation. In fact, the cultivation level of the continent as a whole was still quite low. It had to wait for at least 1,000 years. At that time, a large number of ancient tombs would appear one after another. Only then would some of the things from the past be brought out. Combined with the new world's rules, they would form an even more powerful combination. Only then would the overall level be restored. It was far from being as brilliant as it was in ancient times. However, since Li Zongjio learned about the existence of the sacred martial realm, which was even more powerful than the Shengwu continent, he couldn't help but wonder if the experts from ancient times had all migrated to the sacred martial realm. Therefore, the Shengwu continent was a barren land. Or rather, the Shengwu continent was originally the Shengwu continent. It was a place used to seal the demon race. Basically, it was abandoned to such a state. The series of events made Li Zongjio speculate. If that was the case, once he entered the sacred martial realm, it would be an even more dangerous and vast world. Before that, he needed to be even more powerful. The shadows that appeared behind the 4 tombstones. Astonishingly, they were 4 ancient demons. Thousand-legged blood fiend insect. Hellbull demon. Ghost-winged tiger. Saber-toothed spider. These 4 ancient demons were definitely existences at the demon emperor level. Although they were just some power projections at the moment, it would not be easy for an ordinary primitive emperor to escape from the hands of these 4 ancient demons. However, for Li Zongjio, the strength of these people was not enough to be feared at all. Without saying a word, the black dragon hammer smashed the 4 ancient demons into pieces. However, with the help of the formation, even after being smashed by Li Zongjio, the Black Dragon Hammer was still able to recover. Moreover, the strength of the Black Dragon Hammer increased once again. Li Zongjio also began to study this formation. Generally speaking, when you were trapped in a formation, you would not be able to find any trace of it. Only after you touched the formation would you be able to find out how the formation operated. From there, you would be able to find some clues. After finding the pattern, you would be able to destroy it. After observing for a while, Li Zongjio's eyes lit up and he had an answer in his heart. 4 palaces guarding, immortal and indestructible, 4 palaces Xian formation. In order to break such a 4 palaces Xian formation, one must first find the main position. The 1,000-legged blood fiend worm before Li Zongjio was horrifying in appearance, but its strength was nothing to be scoffed at. Even if this ancient demon appeared before Li Zongjio in its true form, it would not pose much of a threat. However, if the formation was not broken, they would be trapped in the formation forever. Found it, the saber-toothed spider is guarding the main palace. As long as I destroy the saber-toothed spider's life gate, the formation will be broken. The 3 ancient demons beside him pounced again. Li Zongjio sent the 3 ancient demons flying, and rushed directly to the tombstone guarded by the saber-toothed spider. The hammer fell, and suddenly the tombstone was smashed into pieces. Soon after, the silhouettes of the 4 demon clans began to dim and eventually disappeared. Li Zongjio's figure returned to the original position. It was no different from before. However, he did not see the King of Fire and Wan Yulun. Instead, there were 2 rays of light on the signboard of the demon suppression tower in front of him. Li Zongjio could sense that it should be the 2 people trapped in the formation. Looks like this is a test formation. If they could not pass, they would most likely be sent out. Li Zongjio could imagine the wisdom of these ancient powerhouses, and the nature of the demon race, which was difficult to eliminate, made them stay. Otherwise, there was no need for the demon suppression palace to appear. They could have just destroyed it. Therefore, someone had to regain control of the demon suppression ruler. Just as Li Zongjio was waiting, he suddenly felt that a tombstone in the distance seemed to be moving. At the same time, there was a chill in the air. Wait, why is there still a fluctuation? There was no telling what would happen in the surrounding environment. Just as Li Zongjio was about to take a look, suddenly, there was a loud boom. The ground in front of him suddenly caved in. At the same time, the aura of an ancient demon expert spread out. This time, it was a real ancient demon expert. The aura released from his body was ancient and pure. Yunzhongzi, so what if you have trapped me for 35,000 years? Today I am still free. You, on the other hand, have long since turned into a pile of white bones and died. Ha! Chapter 1121. Heatwaves rolled over. Fire demon. When Li Zongjio saw the figure of this demon, he couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. This was too much of a coincidence. In his previous life, Li Zongjio had also killed a fire demon. From the looks of it, it was this one. One had to know that this fire demon was extremely powerful. After it escaped in his previous life, it was also extremely cunning. It fled everywhere, relying on its tyrannical strength, and wherever it went, it would kill. There were even many sects on this continent that joined forces to hunt down the fire demon. However, the fire demon was never caught. Instead, it became stronger and stronger. Later on, Li Zongjio was eating in a small town and happened to encounter a fire demon that came to cause trouble. Thus, he conveniently killed the latter. At that time, Li Zongjio was already in the Supreme Being realm. Of course, being able to kill this fire demon was also related to the latter state. After all, for such a long time, the fire demon was basically in a state of escape. It would more or less run into some experts. Its state had not recovered, and it continued to be in a state of critical health. Then, it encountered the young and vigorous evil lord. Of course, it didn't end well. And at this very moment, they actually met in such a dramatic place. However, they didn't know how this fire demon broke out of the ground. Lord, evil lord, be careful. In the distance, Zhou Bachuan also suddenly rushed over. It wasn't easy for him to find Li Zongjio. However, it seemed that he was a step too late. "Why are you here?" Li Zongjio looked at Zhou Bachuan. After that, Zhou Bachuan also briefly explained his origin and the ice demon that had been released. However, it seemed that he was a step too late. Li Zongjio wasn't surprised at Zhou Bachuan's origin. After all, Zhou Bachuan was only frozen for 10,000 years and was only revived now. However, Li Zongjio didn't know how he was reborn. She still had her memories. Li Zongjio had also done some research on what was happening to him. He had long ruled out the possibility that this was some messy inner demon tribulation. It was even more impossible for it to be some sort of time reversal array. It was an actual and complete rebirth. Therefore, Li Zongjio only acknowledged Zhou Bachuan's background. "I knew that your axe was a little strange. If you were at your peak, you would have been able to control it." Li Zongjio flicked the axe in the latter's hand. Sure enough, the quality was pure. As expected of the craftsmanship of the ancient times. It would not be so easy to forge such a weapon now. What Zhou Bachuan didn't expect was that Li Zongjio wasn't surprised at all. It was as if he already knew. As expected of a young expert. Even in the ancient times, there were very few people who had the talent and vision of Milord. Zhou Bachuan said with sincere admiration. He naturally thought highly of Li Zongjio's breadth of mind and vision. He didn't even have the slightest hint of flattery in his words. "No matter what, you were the one who released this ice demon. I'll deal with it for you. After we leave, you can work in my White Deer mansion." It wasn't easy to find such an ancient warrior. It had been tens of thousands of years, but he was still so loyal. Li Zongjio couldn't give him up. He was a treasure. "I'll do as you say, sir." Zhou Bachuan didn't hesitate at all. To be able to meet a monarch who didn't think of them as freaks made Zhou Bachuan feel much more at ease. Moreover, Zhou Bachuan also had to consider the safety of so many of his brothers. With so many brothers here, they would need to consume a large amount of resources every day. They couldn't possibly hide in the mountains and be bandits for the rest of their lives. Therefore, Zhou Bachuan urgently needed a wise monarch to be able to support his brothers. To Zhou Bachuan, this was a huge expense. Since Li Zongjio was willing to accept them, Zhou Bachuan could also see that Li Zongjio was a monarch with great potential. Their duty had always been to support him. Zhou Bachuan wasn't good at being a monarch or overlord. "It's been a long time since I ate a human." The fire demon in front gradually released its aura. It closed in on Li Zongjio and Li Zongjio. The flame demon was tall and big, and its entire body was crimson red. There was a ball of flame burning continuously on its forehead. The fire demon appeared in front of the two. Behind it was something that looked like a giant butterfly. It was ice blue all over. That was the ice demon. It was the ice demon that had released the seal on the fire demon. "Be careful, the ice demon is extremely strong. My master used up all his energy to trap the ice demon. The strength of the fire demon in front of us is at least 3 times that of the ice demon," Zhou Bachuan said in a low voice. Zhou Bachuan's combat strength was rather special. He could challenge those of a higher level. The strength of Zhou Bachuan's own energy was at the level of the Yuan monarch realm. However, he was able to fight head-on with Lu Wan, who was at the peak of the Yuan emperor realm. In the end, he even decapitated the other party. This was enough to prove his strength. However, the strength of the ice demon hadn't reached the supremacy realm. It was still at the Yuan emperor realm. Previously, it had easily broken through the defensive formation of Zhou Bachuan and the others. If it hadn't been for the secret move left behind by their master, everyone present would have suffered. Therefore, the supremacy realm was only used as a reference. The true extent of one's strength could only be known after a fight. Interesting. This time, you won't have the chance to cause trouble. Li Zongjio looked at the fire demon in front of him and couldn't help but laugh. In his previous life, at least this guy had been free and unfettered for a long time. It had been at least 500 to 600 years. Hee, overestimating yourself, human. The fire demon stretched out his hand and a flame immediately condensed in his hand. It became a fire wolf club that was nearly 3 meters long. Li Zongjio shook his head, grabbed the black dragon hammer, and rushed out. Boom! When Li Zongjio rushed in front of the fire demon, he directly smashed the fire demon's body with his hammer. In an instant, the flame demon was sent flying. Bang! The fire demon's body flew back a few hundred meters. Who knew how many times he had rolled on the ground? Finally, it came to a stop after hitting a grave. After seeing this scene, the ice demon on the side screamed and wanted to escape. It didn't dare to face Li Zongjio head-on. However, Li Zongjio directly grabbed one of the ice demon's wings. Then he pulled with force. Rip! With a crisp sound, the ice demon's wings were easily broken. Ah! The ice demon screamed and fell to the ground. Li Zongjio stepped on it and smashed the black dragon hammer in his hand on the ice demon's head. At the same time, the black dragon hammer poured a terrifying power into it and directly destroyed the demon's power in the ice demon's body. Oh! At this moment, Li Zongjio felt the power of the black dragon hammer in his hand, as if it was awakening. It seemed that only the blood of these high-level demons could awaken the power of the black dragon hammer. Chapter 11:22. Zhou Bachuan had previously led his team to fight this ice demon. The latter's strength was not something that Zhou Bachuan and the others could resist. However, this cunning and powerful ice demon was defeated by Li Zongjio in an instant. It was truly unbelievable. That's too fierce. Zhou Bachuan originally wanted to help Li Zongjio block the ice demon and do his best to delay the ice demon. He did not expect Li Zongjio to be so strong. Even his master did not have such strength 10,000 years ago. Of course, this was also related to the fact that these demon experts had yet to recover their strength even though they had escaped. The Balrog had seen the ice demon's body being shattered with his own eyes. He had also personally experienced Li Zongjio's strength. He would definitely be at a disadvantage if he fought with the latter. My strength has yet to recover. How can I be trapped here? I'll let you go first. The Balrog had already made up his mind to leave this place first. Since he could not defeat Lin Fan, the Balrog believed that he had some strength when it came to escaping. Immediately, the Balrog's feet seemed to be stepping on a flaming wheel, and his body was like a raging fire. However, he did not run far before he saw a looming figure appear in front of him. What? The Balrog saw clearly that it was the young man from before. How can it be? You dare to block me? The Balrog roared and waved the wolf flame cudgel in his hand. At this moment, it was like a blazing prairie fire that blotted out the sky and covered the earth as it attacked Li Zongjio, completely blocking his escape route. The flame in the Balrog's hand was the demon fire, which was different from the spiritual fire. The demon fire could not be used for alchemy, but for destruction. The destructive fire appeared in front of him. At this moment, Li Zongjio transformed into a golden dragon and charged directly into the sea of fire in front of him. The surrounding flames only brushed past him and did not cause any harm to Li Zongjio. As he charged out, Li Zongjio shook his body and transformed into a terrifying crimson dragon again. The blood-red dragon appeared. Immediately, its claws fell and stomped the Balrog to the ground. What? You dare to stomp on me? The Balrog roared angrily. Even in ancient times, it had never suffered such humiliation. After escaping with great difficulty, it was still stomped under someone's foot. Immediately, the energy within the Balrog's body was released wildly. At this moment, he was really angry. Although the demon race was greedy for life and afraid of death, they still cared about their reputation. The flame demon's body immediately became boiling hot, as if it was a large rock that had been scooped out of magma. It possessed an extremely terrifying heat attribute, and could easily incinerate everything in the world. At this moment, even Li Zongjio felt a burning sensation beneath his feet. Die for me. However, Li Zongjio was not afraid of this power. Facing the Balrog's head, he transformed back into his original form and smashed the Balrog's head with his hammer. Boom! In an instant, the Balrog's body turned into countless fragments. Its body was directly smashed into pieces. The Balrog did not have time to say anything before it was smashed into pieces. At Li Zhongjio's feet, there was only a pile of ashes left. I let you escape. Li Zhongjio looked at the black dragon hammer in his hand. At this moment, the black dragon hammer was surrounded by a dark red light. It seemed to be accumulating energy. Obviously, it was the energy snatched from the Balrog's body. Although the Balrog had escaped, most of its energy was absorbed by the black dragon hammer. Fuck, what are you? Why are you so fierce? Li Zhongjio was really unable to figure out the origin of this hammer. Even the origin spirit of the Black Dragon Sovereign had rushed in impatiently upon seeing the hammer, taking it for himself. Now, he was cultivating within the hammer every single day. It gave people the feeling that he was cultivating with this hammer. At this moment, Li Zhongjio could be considered to have developed a new effect and function of this hammer. It could actually absorb the energy of the demon race so easily. To strengthen himself. There was definitely a mystery behind it. You're also overbearing enough. Li Zhongjio did not continue to study this hammer. The more strange and powerful it was, the better it was for Li Zhongjio. When the Balrog had escaped, it had not done so on its own initiative. Instead, it was an innate skill of the demon race, called demon protection. No one knew how it was triggered. In short, it could instantly disappear without a trace. As for where it would appear, they had no way of controlling it. This was also the reason why the demon race was so hard to kill. As long as it escaped to a place and recovered for a period of time, it would definitely be able to recover to its peak state. It was unlike human cultivators, who had to spend a lot of effort just to cultivate. It was said that the final battle between the ancient era and the demon race was because the experts of the continent had arranged a kind of array that allowed the demon race, who could resurrect infinitely, to resurrect within the range of the array and not be able to escape. Of course, this was what Li Zhongjio had learned in his previous life. As for what the situation was, no one knew. Even Zhou Bachuan did not know. After all, Zhou Bachuan had been frozen from the start. It was simply a formality, and he was frozen. Did the Balrog use the demon protection technique just now? Zhou Bachuan was extremely shocked when he sensed the disappearance of the Balrog. When Li Zhongjio returned, he could not help but ask. Yes, it escaped. Immediately, Zhou Bachuan's pupils shrank. He was extremely shocked. The Balrog was very powerful. In ancient times, there was a demon monster list. The Balrog was a terrifying existence that could at least rank in the top 50 on the demon monster list. As for the ice demon, its strength hovered around the top 100. Of course, to deal with these demons, one had to make sufficient preparations to be able to contend with them. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will be victorious in every battle. Such a demon in ancient times would be a very big disaster. Even if the Balrog was alone, it was enough to destroy a sect or even a sect city. In a city, there was a circle of forces formed by several allied sects, and it was called a sect city. However, Li Zhongjio had only made a few moves, and he was able to beat the flame demon to the point where it had to use such a method to escape. This was truly admirable. Li Zhongjio's strength was too terrifying. Soul-subduing flying dagger? Li Zhongjio came to the tombstone that the Balrog had exploded. He found a soul-subduing flying dagger on the ground. The soul-subduing flying dagger was the magic treasure of the Cloud Sky sect's great elder, Yun Zhongzi. Back then, Elder Yun Zhongzi was famous for his soul-subduing flying dagger. When the flying dagger appeared, the demons collapsed like a mountain. Zhou Bachuan explained, indicating that the origin of the flying dagger was not simple. Well, it just so happens that it is a spiritual-type magic treasure. I will make do with it first. Li Zhongjio put away the soul-subduing flying dagger. He would refine it later. Li Zhongjio himself was a very quiet person. If he could avoid fighting, he would not. If he insisted on getting himself covered in blood, then he would be a barbarian. Therefore, this flying dagger could be used very well in killing enemies. The effect could not be better. The two returned to the demon's subduing tower. They found that one of the figures on the demon's subduing tower's plaque had disappeared. It seems that one Yulan failed. Li Zhongjio looked at the disappearing light. The aura was weak. It should be that Wan Yulan failed to break through the formation. After all, Wan Yulan's research on formations was not so thorough. You should also try. Otherwise, you won't be able to get in. Li Zongjio said. Zhou Bachuan had just stepped forward when he was directly sucked away. Suddenly, there was an additional aura on the plaque. It turned out that they were all trapped in this formation just now. Unknowingly, they were trapped in the formation. The strength of these people was indeed very powerful. This formation was extremely profound. A light flashed. King of Fire was also released and landed not far from Li Zongjio. When he saw Li Zongjio, King of Fire was obviously relieved. After all, the formation was powerful. It was better that Li Zongjio did not have any accident. Where is that girl? She should have been sent out. Li Zongjio said. Let's enter the tower. The truly powerful devils were all suppressed under this tower. The tombstones outside were, in fact, just some miscellaneous soldiers. It was precisely because of the existence of the demon suppressing tower that those demon clan experts who had the ability to penetrate the heavens and penetrate the earth did not appear. Chapter 1123. Zhou Bachuan was also trapped in the Four Palaces Xian formation. Even with Zhou Bachuan's strength, it would be difficult for him to escape in a short time. When Li Zongjio and Jian Wushuang walked into the demon suppressing tower, they also stared at the two guardian statues. If they couldn't pass through the Four Palaces Xian formation and wanted to force their way in, they would definitely activate the two guardian statues. If these two statues were revived, they would easily crush Supreme Being experts. Even if Li Zongjio and Jian Wushuang wanted to force their way in, their chances of success wouldn't be too high. Fortunately, they didn't encounter any obstacles. When they walked into the demon-suppressing tower, immediately he felt the strong fighting spirit of the ancient ancestors. Their resolute will was guarding this place for the sake of saving the world from suffering. What a strong will! When the two walked into the demon-suppressing tower, they felt at least 10 terrifying wills. Even after tens of thousands of years, they still had such strong power. These people were at least Supreme Saint Realm when they were alive. Li Zongjio had never been to the demon-suppressing tower before. When he felt these powerful wills, the demon-suppressing tower directly disappeared. He really didn't know who destroyed the demon-suppressing tower at that time. They should have been cut into pieces. The surroundings were empty. It was as if there was nothing, but it was filled with the wills of experts. This demon-suppressing tower is also the technique imparting hall. After Li Zongjio sensed it, he opened his eyes and said. He turned to look at the King of Fire beside him. A trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. At this moment, the King of Fire's body seemed to be in great pain. What's wrong? When Li Zongjio wanted to wake the King of Fire up, he found that the King of Fire's body suddenly released a terrifying flame energy. Even Li Zongjio's palm was covered in the flame. Li Zongjio felt the pain. He wanted to use his origin energy to disperse the flame. However, he found that the fire in the King of Fire's body couldn't be extinguished. He could only use the towering flame to force it out of his body. King of Fire? Li Zongjio shouted angrily. Suddenly, the King of Fire covered his head with his hands. His eyes were burning with fire. He seemed to want to use his own strength to fight against the wills of the experts in the demon-suppressing hall. However, it was useless. The Fire Wraith King was in great pain. Stop! Li Zongjio shouted angrily. Obviously, the power of the demon-suppressing of Fire's body was refining the King of Fire's body. As for the Fire Ghost King's identity, Li Zongjio could already guess it. I am the spirit of the ancestor of fire, one of the 5 sacred ancestors of the demon race. The Fire Wraith King's eyes also lit up. At this moment, she was still trying to maintain her consciousness because the pressure around her was too strong. At the same time, the King of Fire's own will was stimulated. The more he was suppressed, the stronger the King of Fire became. Sacred ancestor of the demon race? Li Zongjio was shocked by the King of Fire's true identity. He actually had such an arrogant and domineering origin. However, The King of Fire in front of him didn't have the characteristics of the demon race. He seemed to be a demon race expert who had completely jumped out of his shell. The King of Fire's face was pale. He looked at Li Zongjio and smiled faintly. From the moment I was trapped in Flying Moon City, you knew that my life wasn't long. If you want to obtain anything in the Demon Suppressing Hall and obtain the Demon Suppressing Ruler, you'll have to kill me first. Kill me and you'll be rewarded with unparalleled good karma. The King of Fire looked at Li Zongjio and said seriously, "Kill the King of Fire? How could that be possible?" With Li Zongjio's personality, there was no way he would do such a thing. The supreme treasure of demon suppressing was right above his head. The demon-suppressing ruler was bound to contain the will of a peak saint from the ancient times. The benefits he could obtain were innumerable. Moreover, Li Zongjio, do it. Even if you don't kill me, the demon-suppressing hall won't let me go. Today is the day my life ends. You saved me once, so I'll fulfill your wish. The King of Fire's flames burned even more brilliantly. However, Li Zongjio didn't move from his spot. No one knew what he was thinking. The King of Fire naturally couldn't hold on any longer. What a joke! I, Li Zongjio, am not the kind of person who would betray my friends. Li Zongjio's eyes shone brightly. At this moment, the evil lord's confidence and dominance seemed to have returned. He was back at the peak of his strength all those years ago. King of Fire, I don't care who you are. As long as you're a friend of mine, Li Zongjio, I'll protect you. I'll protect you. Li Zongjio didn't waste any more words. If he continued, the King of Fire wouldn't be able to hold on. Li Zongjio rushed to the King of Fire's side. He helped the King of Fire to his feet, then placed his hands on the King of Fire's back. Use my inner energy as fuel to break through the suppression. Li Zongjio growled. Then, the surging inner energy in his body surged into the King of Fire's body. In an instant, Li Zongjio also felt the terrifying pressure coming from the Demon Suppression Hall. At this moment, Li Zongjio's aura and the King of Fire's aura seemed to be of the same origin. He would be regarded as a fallen human by the Demon Suppression Hall. The King of Fire's strength was very strong. Even in the Four Palace Profound Formation, there was nothing wrong with him. Only when he walked into the main hall of the Demon Suppression Hall did the King of Fire truly confirm his identity. Only then did such a scene occur. No Devil Race member could hide here. Since this was the case, the King of Fire also knew that if Li Zongjio wanted to obtain the Demon Suppression Ruler, he must have enough merit. And this merit was the King of Fire himself. Therefore, even if he had some guesses, the King of Fire had already thought it through. He was going to sacrifice himself to help Li Zongjio. If you do this, you will also die. Hurry up and let go. The King of Fire felt Li Zongjio's energy converging into his body, and the pressure on his body immediately decreased by a lot. However, his own energy was still constantly attacking Li Zongjio. At this moment, the King of Fire's own flame energy was automatically mobilized to protect its master. Therefore, it was difficult for the King of Fire to control it. It's fine. If I don't want to die, no one in this world can kill me. Li Zongjio smiled faintly. From within his body, the three great Yuan dragons' roars immediately emerged. A powerful, majestic aura constantly pervaded the Demon Suppression Hall. It wanted to contend with the majestic aura of the Demon Suppression Hall. In order to protect Li Zongjio, the two of them bitterly resisted in this manner. Li Zongjio's body was gradually collapsing due to the pressure from both sides. However, Li Zongjio's body did not move at all. The powerful willpower in his body also allowed Li Zongjio to persevere. He must resist the will of the Demon Suppression Hall to the end. The auras of the three great Yuan dragon powers had also changed from their peak state to an extremely dispirited state. Roar! The first to be defeated was the White Dragon's origin spirit. It directly drilled into Li Zongjio's body. Next was the Golden Dragon. It once again turned into a ray of golden light and returned to Li Zongjio's body. However, it did not provide any assistance to Li Zongjio because this was the state after the energy was exhausted. The Blood Dragon's origin spirit was full of vigor. However, after struggling for nearly 5 minutes, the Blood Dragon's origin spirit finally had no choice. With a boom, it directly exploded into pieces. The remaining energy poured into Li Zhongjiu's body. The moment the blood dragon's origin spirit disappeared, the pressure that Li Zhongjiu and the King of Fire both felt was like the weight of 100,000 mountains. Under this force, Li Zhongjiu's body would soon be unable to withstand it. On top of that, the Fire Wraith King's protective flames kept burning. In Li Zhongjiu's eyes, this seemed to be the last bit of hidden power. When a force emerged from Li Zhongjiu's eyes, for a short moment, both of them felt relaxed. Li Zhongjiu had no other way. He was only holding on with his last breath. As long as Li Zhongjiu let go now, all the threats would disappear. However, the King of Fire would be obliterated. At this moment, Li Zhongjiu also intended to hold on with the King of Fire until the last moment. Clang! A crisp sound. Li Zhongjiu looked down. It turned out that the black dragon hammer at his waist had fallen to the ground. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.